press start.
Hey everybody, welcome to Current Gen, episode 191. It's not Current Cinema, you didn't touch the wrong subscription or whatever.
I mean, we might talk about cinema. We might talk
about some cinema, to quote Marty Scorsese, cinema. I'm Jeff, I'm joined by Dan and Kyle. Hello, good evening, salutations, and all the things. And Dan did a little spin-a-rooney for those that aren't.
That was a visual gag.
That was a visual gag.
Audio
And go Rangers and R.I.P. Matthew Perry. And let's move on.
Yeah, we just hit all of the things at the top of the.
Yeah.
We're in a real quick. Chandler, fantastic character on Friends. Fantastic character. I love it.
I would say there's a good stretch of my middle school years that I based my entire personality on Chandler Bong.
Yep.
So
Bong, yep.
Yeah, that kind of hits deep, at least in the, my past.
My wife and I are literally rewatching for the umpteenth time Friends right now. Like literally,
we're comfort food the show for a lot of people. Yeah.
So
for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So
great people.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. Wow, I'm just not hearing about this for the first time. Wow, it's very sad.
It is legit sad. He's 54 years old, man. So that's really tragic.
That's young.
And his hat is very well documented.
And I also didn't know he was that young. I feel like everybody in Friends is like 70
drugs
now.
aged him. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, true. Yeah, everybody was like.
But they're not. No, they're always older in my head than they actually are.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
Well, at the Friends reunion, they all were pretty put together, except he was a little. Well, I'm saying comparative.
Courtney Cox looks like she was. There's no reason to talk bad about anybody while this person just died. Never mind. Courtney Cox, you're beautiful. Whatever.
Lay off the plastic.
Sorry to bring it up. Yeah. Stop what you're doing.
Stop with
your beautiful soul, though.
Yeah.
Stop with the plastic.
No need to bring negativity.
And her new show on Starz, I guess it's in the second season now, called Shining Veil, is actually very funny. It's like a horror adjacent comedy show. Can't remember who it's by. I don't know that it's by anybody notable in particular, but she's very funny in it. And Greg Kinnear plays her husband, and she's got like a really dumb, lame son who's like, he's so funny and derpy, and a daughter who can't stand her. It's very funny. Anyway, Matthew Perry. So that's related to Matthew Perry.
You took a bullet, and then I took everybody's time. You took a bullet at a time, and I took everybody's time with it.
Yeah, sorry.
That's my bad.
That's how it tends to
I led us right into the weeds on that one. Sorry, everybody.
Well, Tim is R.I.P. No, he didn't die. He went to D.C. for a hot minute this week for work, and worked long hours. So he is taking a break this week.
The sleepy boy.
And Derek's a Florida guy, so I mean, he's on that time schedule. Whatever, we'll get to Derek.
The new kids on the block are running the show. This week.
It's Current Cinema plus Dan.
I'm like mid-gen. All right, I was like in the middle.
Mid-gen, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
You're middle management, and we're
we're
entry level.
No, hold on.
Yeah, we're what do you call the analysts? We're analysts, and
no, you see,
and Dan's a manager.
I'm future Trunks, and you guys are Goten and Trunks, young Goten and Trunks. You guys are
young Trunks. And Jeff doesn't know what any of this means, so he's happy with what's left over.
I mean, he should. He knows Dragon Ball Z to some extent.
I mean, no. These are 200 plus episode cut characters. way down the line, you're like, hey, remember Goten and Trunks? You're like, no, because most people don't make it that far.
Wearing a baseball hat. Okay, literally, it's about a baseball team in my head. Yeah, sure, Dragon Ball Z.
Baseball, Dragon Balls. Yeah.
Hey, there's balls, guys.
Yeah.
Let's talk about balls.
Balls, brother. Balls, dude.
Tim is gonna just have a field day with this beginning of the podcast. We are gonna talk about some new off the bat. We're just gonna talk about some new stuff that we're playing and watching. The new stuff that came out. I'll just breeze through the smaller games that came out, and I'll lump in Ghost Runner 2 because I'm pretty sure none of us played that. That strikes me more as a Tim game, but he may end up playing that like further down the year, that like in December.
Getting good reviews too.
Yeah. It looks like a game that should appeal to me because I like Neon White. It's just there's a difficulty curve with that game.
I wasn't good at the first one at all, so
yeah.
Talk about a game I really wanted to like that game, but like
me neither.
It was hard. It was hard for
me. Whereas Neon White was more like I felt like it was not handholdy, but I mean certainly starting out.
The short levels lend itself to
stuff.
knowing what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Whereas Ghost Runner, I feel like there's a lot of trial and error. Like I don't really know what to do here. Like
I'm just like running around the same guy, like
Yeah. Don't hit me!
Don't hit me!
Yeah.
I just run
like
running
I'm
on
the wimpiest like ghost running ninja like in all of Cyberpunk, like just crying like stop it! Ah!
But again, seeing the gameplay and seeing how kinetic it is, I'm like, man, it must feel amazing to get it.
Yeah, I
right.
hear that they really like did a big story and stuff too.
I
don't know if it's any good, but like there's a present story and stuff like that now.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah.
Do we know it's like a direct sequel, or because I never really finished the first
one?
It's gotta be. Yeah, I don't know if you're using the same character or something like that.
Well, I mean,
know that
Lord
like
of the Fallen or Lords of the Fallen was not a direct sequel. It was just a thing with the same name.
That's a good point.
Reboot.
But yeah, I think the big other mechanic is they added like bikes or soming, which I
did see that. That looked
that
cool.
everyone really liked. You know, the sword plus bike combo. Which duh.
Ghost biker. Yeah.
Yeah, duh. That's
cool.
A good combo.
So I wanted to mention that one right off the bat, and then the other smaller ones that came out, City Skylines 2, which apparently released unfinished, and they admitted it before it even came out.
Yeah, apparently like high-end PCs are running this game at like 20 frames per second. Like it is just melting high-end PCs.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And they even like it. It's just the statement that they made was just like very alarming 2 weeks ago or however long ago it was. I'm pretty sure it was very recent before it came out, where the developer was like, yeah, you know, the way gaming is nowadays, you just have to release it and then patch it later. I'm poorly summarizing what he said.
The Battlefield approach, because that's EA
pretty
said the
much
same thing about Battlefield.
He was admitting
we do this with Battlefield every year, and it works out just fine. I'm like, did they just admit that they put Battlefield out broken every year and fix it while it goes along? Like, because I mean, in a statement, they literally said that. Yeah, like it's just crazy.
Like you don't have to. It's more of like the publisher versus the dev sort of.
Well, we created that too a little bit, right? Like the consumer. Like we're just like we happily buy stuff day one. We know it's gonna be broken. You know,
it's
like,
pre-order culture is like screwing us.
yeah. And I'm all about like, hey, pay for your game whenever you want to. I don't really care, you know. But like because of pre-orders, this is what we get, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And I buy games ahead of time because sometimes I have money on weeks before, not the week of. So it's like, let me buy this now.
Same here. I schedule my buys.
But like
whenever I can.
If we could get rid of it, you know, just so we could have better games, I'd be all for it too.
Yeah, exactly. Especially digitally, where it's like you can just buy it the minute it comes out.
They have your money. Yeah. You know, like what do they care? Like what you've already bought. If they know that they have 8 million copies like ready to ship or ready to install like day one, like what do they care what state it's in? You know,
exactly.
Like they already have their money.
I wish they would change that model, but that's not going to happen anytime soon.
Nah, I mean it is what it is, and I don't get mad about it anymore.
So Skylines 2 is not reviewing well on Steam as predicted, based on that statement that they made. It's like mostly negative or something like that.
Which sucks, you know.
Yeah, because I think the first one was very beloved.
People loved it. Well, it came in a time where people were craving Sim City, and the EA was like, nah. So they,
I played a little bit of it on my PS4. But like obviously that's a game that's going to play much better on a PC.
Yes.
But it seems
they figure out good ways for controls. But those are real PC heavy games.
Like I managed without the mouse, and it seemed fun. It seemed like there was a lot of intricacies going on there. So I would imagine the second one has even more. But yeah, clearly, like you said, this thing's going on. Yeah, that is a shame.
Yeah. Another new game that came out, Lord of the Rings: Return to Moria. I saw IGN's review. It wasn't very good. At least it wasn't their review of this game wasn't very good.
Lord of the Rings doing real well in the video game sphere, huh?
Yeah, seem to be enjoying it streaming. Like, hey, me and 7 of my buddies, it's 8 people, we're all gonna get on. We're gonna have a giant stream, and like everyone was having a really good time playing it that way.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion on it. Like, I think it looks fun, but like I haven't really played it. But it looked like they were having a lot of fun. But I also don't have 7 friends, so like, who am I gonna get to like coordinate and like all get on at the same time? And
or do I want 7?
Or do I want to be in a chat with 7
already tired
other people either?
That.
I remember our Diablo 4 days, Jeff, where like 10 people are talking on top of each other, and I'm like, I'm gonna go crazy. Like we're all everyone's just talking right now,
and we're not even in the same game, and we're just like,
So like
my remaining hair out. This is
I
crazy.
can see performative wise why it would be a lot of fun. But like I couldn't get a good read on if it was a good survival game or not.
Like quality. How does it feel to play? Like I just It was hard to tell from
I hope
watching.
Tim plays this game because I think he would like it. I mean, he likes these types of games.
I think there's some Valheim elements to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
there's survival. Yeah, it's a survival crafty game. You know.
Yeah.
But there's also kind of like you're in Moria. You're going down the depths and stuff like that, and you're opening up new like outposts and camps that have been lost for a long time, and goblins have moved in or whatever. So there's a lot of combat and stuff too. It looks like there's like a quest or objective, so you kind of have like you're guiding. It just feels like you're a little more guided, maybe, than some of the freedom of some of these other types of games. But
it sounds more interesting than a Gollum game.
I think, it's definitely not the worst Lord of the Rings game to come out this year, for sure.
Yeah,
like by a mile.
Which is A plus.
It is strange that you're not getting a game out that's like a 10 out of 10 with the Lord of the Rings like property though.
Right. That should be the aim.
Why? Like, look at Spider-Man. Look at all these other like IPs that are being used really well. Like Lord of the Rings, the most like accessible, interesting property to exist. Like you can't figure out how to get a 10 out of 10 game out of that. Like,
stupid, so dumb. So the next one is one we're all playing. Clearly, it's Just Dance 2024 edition. We're obviously all very hyped to play this game.
Finally,
are playing it. Finally. And moving on. I don't know how to say this. Cry Machina, Cry Machina. It's like a turn-based anime type of art style. I didn't play it. It doesn't look like it's up my alley.
What kind of game is it?
Some type of turn-based anime style.
Is it turn-based?
I think so.
I don't have
tactical. I think it's more tactical.
Okay. Because I was seeing screenshots of it on the PlayStation Store. I didn't look but maybe I'm mixing it up with something else, and my memory's being dumb. But I thought it almost looked.
There were a lot of games this week, and I left a few off. Yeah.
I thought it looked almost more.
That one showed up in the when I went to opencritic.com. It showed up in like this is like the most popular new stuff, and so I was like, well, let's just go based on that as well. And then the last one I wanted to mention is Vengeance for Mr. Peppermint, which is like an old boy side-scrolling action.
Oh, that came out?
Yeah.
Oh, I shared that one in chat.
Yeah,
you
did.
On PC?
I think it's only on PC. Yeah, on Steam. I don't know if it's deck verified or not.
Deck verified.
Deck verified.
Deck verified.
This is not what I thought this would look like.
It's old. It is Old Boy the game. Yeah,
it's literally Old Boy.
Really
like
interested in this game.
In the first 3 minutes, you get a hammer.
Sure.
So I played, and man, the deaths are so violent. I played a little bit of it. It's just the gameplay is a little slower than I thought it would be. Like it's for a game that I assume wants to be fast paced because it gives you so many enemies to fight at the same time. It's just not very responsive, in my opinion.
Oh, that sucks.
And that's me playing with a controller, and I don't know, maybe it's just not 100% controller supported, even though it did let me play with one. Maybe it's just not 100% there yet. I don't know.
That's possible. Yeah.
But yeah, and also just like felt like the tutorials like looked really cheap. Like I don't know. It just looked all around a little cheap, which I get. It's $15 game. It's not going to be like this crazy AAA budget side-scrolling
I don't know.
thing.
I feel like whenever a game like this, which I know these are completely different games, but like, I'm going to compare it to something like Sifu, which was like, I don't know, very effective in the way that it executed its gameplay and stuff like that, where, like I kind of am expecting fluidity like that, in a Kung Fu
That's
game.
what I want. That's what I want with a hallway fighter. Yeah, exactly.
But
what's supposed to be.
What was that other one that one person made? That was also like a brawler. I know we have a
Midnight Fight Express.
Yeah.
Yeah, good call.
Or something like that, and that was not.
That game had really solid controls. Yeah, that's like the first thing you notice. So yeah, that's telling to me that whenever you're playing it, you're like the very first thing I notice is that's not very good. It's like, well, shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what you want to be good in a game like this.
Yeah. That's
a game
the thing I'm
stylized
looking for,
after something as violent as Old Boy, or one scene in Old Boy. But yeah, anyway, that game is out. So we're gonna start with Alan Wake 2 as like the the more pronounced big release for this week. Sure. I am not an expert on. I don't even. Dan, did you beat the first one?
Never. Haven't. Still not played that first.
Okay.
One.
I didn't
want
either.
to. So I can.
So I'm certainly not an expert on. I played it for a little bit when did the remaster just come out last year? No, it was more.
A couple years ago.
Whatever.
Maybe, yeah.
I bought the remaster and I did play a little bit of it, and it still felt a little dated gameplay wise for me. Like if I were acclimated to the gameplay and I played it further back, like when it first came out, I probably would have been like, yeah, plays like it did at launch, whatever. But for me, I was just like, I can't get over this. Even though like the story hook is really cool. But whatever, that doesn't matter because this is a new game. This is a brand new game, and it's actually kind of its own separate story in a way. Like obviously it's going to be a sequel, so there's like interconnected details between this and even some of the other Remedy World games like Control and what's the other one? Quantum Break.
Yep.
So you know, I mean, if you're super educated on those games, like I suspect Kyle is, you're going to pick up those details. But if you're not, the story is presenting itself like it's brand new because you're like playing through the eyes of somebody else.
A good example of this is, and you can back me up on this, Jeff, or disagree, whatever. But like the opening of the game, who it opens up on, it doesn't really matter that you don't know who it is, Jeff. Like it's just I'm seemingly a victim or something like that. It's not a spoiler. It's the very first scene of the game or whatever. You're not playing as one of the two main characters, you know. But for me, you know, when they say a certain name, like I know who that is, and it's exhilarating. That's who that is.
Oh, that's cool.
The first game connection.
Yeah, because for me, I was just like, this is creepy. I was like, this is
creepy. Yeah, but that's all it needs to be, right? You know, like you don't need to have the extra level, but like the extra level is there if you did play the first game. You know,
exactly. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that guy that shows up and he ends up kind of being the first major threat for you in the game. So that whole time you're kind of like, oh, I know who this is. This is like a big payoff or whatever.
Yeah, he's a giant asshole in the first game too. So, yeah. So it all fit pretty well.
I feel less bad about how things went down.
Yeah.
But
again, like you don't need to know who. It just, you know, at any point you're just like, this is a threat that I need to get rid of,
I think
or whatever. You know,
is familiar. Your partner, who is Sam Lake, who is the guy who created.
So yeah,
games.
your partner is Detective.
He knows who that is.
Casey, who is he's referenced in the first game throughout the entirety of the first game as one of Alan Wake's most prized creations.
So that explains the lunch.
No one has it like so. Already, this game is like really like. From what I understood from the reviews, everyone's like, "This is a really cerebral, you know, like horror." And I'm like, "Oh, I hope that's true." You know, immediately certainly it is layered. Because I don't know what's going on. And if you don't know what's going on, that means it's too smart for you, and that means it's cerebral. That's just how it works. No. There's just a layer to it where, you know, like, and again, this is stuff like from the trailers that you heard in interviews and stuff like that too. Like someone comes up to Saga and it's like, "Hey, I know who you are." There's no way she could because this is her first time in the city or whatever. She's like, "Your daughter died, right?" And she's acting like she knows you, and that she's acting like your daughter died, and it's just weird, you know, and but then it'll layer another weird thing on top of you. And then by the time like the first chapter is done, like I'm not sure you're even in the real world. I don't right. Like I don't really know, you know, and like being lost there is very interesting to me. You know what I mean? Like in this, like now we're in this space that like you're questioning reality, and there is a lot of reality overlapping on reality. There's a lot of like those types of inceptions or matrix like ideas in terms of like there being realities within realities or overlapping realities or merging realities or whatever, you know. And like this is just in the first 3 hours of the game. Like I can't like who knows how nutty this game is going to go in the next few hours. You know, I think most people are beating it like 14 hours, 15, you know, it gets pretty short, you know.
That's
so it's like
fun.
So it's not going to overstay its welcome.
It's almost one full Spider-Man 2. That's how long it is.
Right? Yeah. I like. Also, not a peep about how this game's this short. What?
We waited 13 years. I'm
not buying a 15-hour game. You know,
I know this is a 13-year-old. 13 years we've been waiting on this.
On this game about that. Whatever. That's fine.
Yeah. This is actually preferred for me because this is the type of it. This is a storytelling first game.
Yeah,
that is like narrative driven. So
I also don't think that you can retain, and we talked about this before with TV and stuff like that, a spooky vibe for longer than 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
that's why the Resident Evil games
like
were
I'm like,
so good.
I don't want to feel like this anymore. Like this is just I've been stuck in this like
I'm
10
so done. Dude, Alien Isolation is like what, a 30-hour game? Like that sounds
that's
awful.
Insane to me.
Like,
but even if it's not scaring you anymore, like it fades because you can't retain it. You know what I mean? So this is not scary to me anymore. Like this is just overstated. Well, I'm too used to all this type. So it's like it's a
great,
a balancing
another thing
act,
jumping
you know?
out at me. Yeah, it's great. Thanks.
Yeah,
guys.
right. Oh, here we go. We're switching realities again. You know, like I just like there's it feels like a good length to me. So if I'm 3 hours in and there's only like 10 hours or 14 hours left of the game or whatever, you know. like that's good because I feel like that means there's going to be a really good pace to everything.
The control was a little longer, right? Like
it
wasn't it close to 20, 25?
And it's the first Alan Wake. I think it was probably 18 to 20
no,
hours.
Control.
Oh, Control was longer, but also not a survival horror game. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Creepy and weird.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of that here, by the way. A lot of things they learned from the presentation of Control, they brought here. So a lot of like that weird, like hiss type bad guy.
Yeah. So if you
like
played
you hear a lot
whole,
of the whispering and creepy stuff, you know.
If you play Control with all the expansions, and that's not even including the Alan Wake 2 is going to do 2 expansions. Yeah, it would have been like 26 hours for you to beat the whole thing if you played the expansion.
So
the
about 20, you know, before the expansion.
So Alan Wake 2 may end up being longer with the expansion.
Not totally the same. Yeah, not the same experience. You said, Kyle. Not the same like and vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
The gameplay
there are
loop
parts
is very
of Control
different.
where I'm like unnerved for sure. And it was a long time to kind of be in that like, oh, this is weird space, you know. But like. But yeah, I think that I think I was saying it in the group. I was like, man, the presentation like this is what gets you like best game director, best direction, like at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because like there's a moment, and I don't want to go too into specifics, but I'm crossing a threshold of realities, and like you see a city street overlapping with like the jungle. And the way that it slowly bleeds in is such a trick to the eyes.
It's like a subway, or not even a subway. I'm sorry. It's like a tunnel
or street or something. I can. It's obviously modern, like a concrete. Concrete jungle
like
merging with a real jungle. You know, and it was so unique the way that it just like.
And I felt like I was walking in both at the same time. It was. And by the end of the transition, it's like you were stuck in between both. It was just really well done. And again, I think the game's gonna be filled with stuff like that. Like the level design stuff that people love Control for. Well, Control was obviously more dense because
Control kind of had the same
thing.
It
was more like arena fighting at times.
Yep.
And then you would leave the room and be totally different shape and whatever. Like it's obviously very different because the gameplay is different. But this does have that same sense of like, did I just walk in a loop? Like what's wait, where am I now? Yeah, like
there's a couple of times like where the game like leans all the way into that where I'm like, am I in a PT tunnel right now? Like where I'm just like looping really hard? Like what's going on here, you know?
Yeah, what was that level in Control with that whole section where there was that whole area where everything was like
cigarette room or the cigar maze?
So that's what that reminds me of, the way you're describing it. So it sounds like
top 10 game win of all time. This stuff way.
I didn't even get that far. I just watched it on YouTube and I was like, wow, that looks really cool.
Really good. Yeah.
I really got to beat that game, dude. That feels like a game
really
that
great game.
I would like enjoy beating. And now that they have difficulty sliders on literally every aspect of that game,
you can make your character invincible. Like you can
pretty much
you can walk through that game. Yeah,
exactly.
Also,
anyway.
a lot of the stuff from Control, because they learned a lot about like visual pacing in Control, where it was just like you couldn't really rely on your map. So like bring up your map was kind of like not useful whenever you're trying to navigate in Control. You had to really follow stuff with your eye. Oh, there's a sign that points it. Same thing here, where it's like. I kind of turned around right now, but the second you look, like, read all the signs. Like, the signs are telling you which, like, hiking trails to go down to get to what place that you're trying to look for at the moment.
Some of them even tell you how to get a side thing. Like, there's, like, glow-in-the-dark arrows, and you're like, what does that tell me to go to? And it's just, like, a side optional thing.
So, like, it's just, it again, the way that and like, the game never tells you, hey, you might want to go explore everything. Like, you kind of have to choose to go off the beaten path. And the first area is big. Like, it's pretty sprawling, and there's a lot of different, like, side paths and stuff like that to go down. Or you can just skip all of it and go right to the car and leave, So it just kind of depends on how you handle that type of stuff.
How does this Control compare? How does this Control compare to the first Alan Wake? Because that was a gripe with people, right? The first game was kind of wonky controls.
I think that's a modern. I think that's a modern gripe because like when that game came out, maybe people were on the fence. I don't recall.
I don't really recall the reception. I remember it. I thought I remember it always being loved. That's why there's always been this noise for like, oh, we gotta get a sequel.
Sure.
But I also remember it not selling really well too. So where is all this noise coming from?
Right.
It's a cult classic. Cult classic. Right?
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there's the right term. But I don't really remember what the controls were like. I remember it was simple. You had a flashlight, you had a gun, you had a dodge button. You know what I mean? Sure. Like that was really it.
Is there a dodge in this one, by the way, or have I just not
supposed to be? But I haven't used it yet.
Okay, so neither you and I have gotten to that point yet, where it's like you can
we
dodge now,
or we just haven't been using it. I don't know.
True.
I haven't tried to even dodge yet.
Yeah, because there's a part in like the first boss fight, which is very early on. I was just like running away looking for more resources because I kept running out of bullets. And I'm a noob to this whole shine your light then shoot thing. Like I'm a noob to this whole thing.
Yeah.
So I was just like crap. And then he can teleport like kind of right up to you and get on you. And I was just like scrambling, like there's got to be a dodge, like there's got to be, but maybe there is one, and I'm just like Kyle was saying, it's like must be not using it at all. There's got to be a dodge. It's a federal agent we're talking about here, right? Like,
yeah.
Got to be some agility there to pass your.
I will say that Remedy loves to make these all-American stories and then not hire all-American actors. Because you have plenty of European people slipping completely out of their accents. Very Heavy Rain style. Remember the origami killer stuff? Remember that? Yeah. Very of that. But it's never like it never pulls me completely out. But like the main character Saga, like she will slip out of her accent completely, you know, and then just like, okay, that's interesting.
It's very confusing. I mean, I know he's going for the Midwest, he's going for that Midwest Twin Peaks vibe.
Yeah.
Where everybody feels a little like alien and stuff, but it's like that doesn't mean cast people who's like they struggle a little with the English language or English accent, like the American accent. Like, I don't know. I can see why you love this stuff.
It's
like
just Twin
as
Peaks,
I'm playing it, I'm
is.
like, it's Twin Peaks. It's just Twin
there's
Peaks.
a scene where like two people are drinking cups of coffee synchronized, like in a lodge, like, you know, and I'm like, this is Twin Peaks.
Your
Peaks,
save point is a lodge, like it's.
and it's interacting with coffee, like that's the save point. You're gonna go to a place called Coffee World. It's an amusement park based off coffee. It is. It's in the game. It's in the trailer. Yeah. All right. You know, so like it's a whole like theme park.
Actually, every chapter I would say is I don't know that it's a length of a Twin Peaks episode where it's 40 minutes to an hour, but it's certainly meant to be viewed.
There's a song outro in every
end of episode,
too.
yeah. And then there's little in chapter ads. If you catch a TV, if you manage to explore enough, you can watch a TV and there's an ad in there that's like people in live action. People are acting out like fake ads for like whatever the Finnish guys that are that have like some sort of whatever business out there that's like based on coffee
they're the guys that own the Coffee World,
in the brewery and like all this stuff.
They really just took a lot.
This is what Remedy's like best at, though, is like creating like a sense of space and stuff like that, and just creating a world that like all these like weird moving parts are in. You know, they even figure out a way to like sneak in like Max Payne, because like they don't own the property to that, they don't own the rights to that. Rockstar does. But obviously, you know, Max Payne's a very important thing to them. So what they did is, if y'all remember, Sam Lake is the likeness of Max Payne in Max Payne 1 and 2.
Oh, that's okay. That's why his face looks familiar.
But his voice was always a different voice actor, whom I forget the name of. I'm sorry. He played the board of director in Control. He's in every Remedy game.
Oh, okay.
So he is the voice of Detective Casey in this one. So for the first time in 20 years, we're getting the face of Max Payne and the voice of Max Payne on one character who's playing a hard-boiled, noir-based detective. It is Max Payne. Like extensively, this character is Max Payne. You know, so it's they figured out a way to get it in. You'll also Detective Casey is the star of the in-universe show as well. And when you get glimpses of that, it's just a Max Payne dialogue. It's like, bullets rain in the night sky, and my blood is pumping, filled with like it's just Max Payne doing a Max Payne monologue. So I was just like, they got their hands all the way around Max Payne and brought it in without actually bringing the name Max Payne in. So I'm just like, we're in the Remedy universe completely now. Like all the pieces are here. You know, it's
they
really
could even say.
They
could even say Max Payne is like alt reality. This guy, right? You say, "Oh, that Max Payne's not even really the guy." Like, this
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
That's the whole concept of controls and bending reality and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I love the direct references to Control too. Like, there's literally an FBC guy
the Federal
in the game.
Bureau of Control, the FBC. Like his characters are already in town. Like. Yeah. We we're keeping an eye on this place. It's been weird for a long time, you know. So you'll immediately meet people that are there, you know.
And then there's that visual cue I remember from the control rooms, with the hiss and the red hiss.
Yeah.
There's that visual cue when you're going and approaching the first boss where it's like completely red, and I'm like, this reminds me of the hiss. Like it reminds me completely of all that stuff.
Well,
like,
and the cool thing, you know, little spoilers for Control's expansion, but this game's out, and knowing this is going to make this game better.
Is it the AWE one?
Alan Wake wrote the hiss into existence through the dark place. So like he's the one who created the controls hit, because like the whole it's a mystery, the whole game of controls, like where do these things come from or whatever. And the whole idea is that the dark place took Alan Wake so it could write itself free into our reality.
Yeah,
because in Cauldron Lake it's a place of power, which is a control reference, where when writers go there, the things that they write manifest into the real world. So it's like this dark entity is trying to manipulate Alan into writing it, into this world using this place of power or whatever. And like that's the whole story. So it's like the hiss,
and you're catching those manuscripts
the darkness
too,
breaking
and like
through, and almost being in this realm, but not quite being there yet.
Yeah.
So,
but the sound effects are like reminiscent. The visual cues are reminiscent. Like clearly
the Taken are clearly, which the Taken are the bad guy in this game, or the things that are occupying the mortal shells or whatever, are very hiss-like. Like there's a distortion of clouds around them and stuff like that. So they're of the same family.
I love that. That's so cool, man. How they connect everything. And also, I'm kind of a big old slut for the case board. I like that whole detective. They're leaning so hard into the Twin Peaks element of being a detective that I'm just like floored by all that stuff. Like it might be boring to some gamers that go jump from Spider-Man 2 to Alan Wake 2, and I totally get that.
It's a particular type of pacing,
It's a different type of pace for sure. And you're just literally putting Post-its on a wall and trying to tie solutions together.
It is rewarding though whenever like all the clues line up. And then you get that final piece of paper there that it's like, all right, so this is what this whole line was about, I mean,
that sounds
you kind of like crossed out like a part of the investigation because it's gone as far as it could with all the clues that you've had, and I like that a lot too. And there's multiple case files, so you can throw a whole nother case up there. You're investigating a lot of different things. Cool. There's a lot of different mechanics.
Also, there's a I don't know if there was a cult in the first game, but there's a cult in this one, and
not really, no, not really a cult.
So I love the whole cult aspect. Like
I love cults. Gotta love the cults.
I love cults. Yeah,
icing on the cake, dude. I love not being in one. I love criticizing them.
Cults.
But from a fictional storytelling standpoint, they're awesome to.
It's always a good storytelling
learn about
device,
and watch.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's. Do we have more to say about Alan Wake 2, or should we move?
No, I
don't think either of us are for.
I was worried. I think I expressed worry a few weeks ago. I was like, oh, people are saying this game's like really something, and like I did the same with Control as it was coming out, and here I am, and I'm like, man, this immediately broke into my top 10 list. Easy for me because I'm a Remedy hoe, but like
you don't want the Remedy.
No, it's totally blown me away, and like. The coming to God moment I had to have of what I was cutting to put this up, I was like, this is insane. Yeah. I'm not going to have this on my list. It's just that Kyle, those conversations.
It's confirmed Kyle cut Zelda.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Kyle hates Zelda.
Oof.
You're out of here, bud.
You're fine. There we go. You're on the same page. Well, that sounds cool.
Yeah, I think if you like that type of pacing game, Dan, where it's kind of like you're figuring things out, and you're occasionally getting a Resident Evil thing of action.
Well,
Alan Wake was birthed out of the time where everything was Resident Evil 4, and like it still wears that type of horror on its shoulder. And the closest thing that I could compare it to in modern day is probably like Evil Within 2. In terms of like its openness, and in terms of its pacing, in terms of its weird, heady type of horror, because that's kind of a cerebral horror as well.
Yeah, it is.
And I know you like that game, and I'm saying it because I want you to play it. I think you'd love this game.
The second you mentioned Coffee Land or whatever, I was like, there's literally like in Evil Within 2, there's like the little coffee like like a little table with the coffee pot, and you like you sip coffee. Like that's what Sebastian literally took a sip of coffee. Like
if you're a heady astral projecting horror type thing or whatever, I think you have to reference Twin Peaks or you're not a valid piece of medium. I think that's the rule.
But yeah, Control was like one of my favorite games of that year. So I mean, I feel like I'm in for a treat, and I do want to go back and do the first Alan Wake. I think
that's a pretty breezy play, and you could stream that too. Like people would love to watch. Like it's such a cinematic game, like. That's an easy one.
And then you have the DLC that's associated with that. They have like 2 DLC or 2 expansions with that game, I think.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have 2. I put that in the headlines actually, that they said the Night Springs expansion comes out for Alan Wake 2 in spring of next year, and then the Lake House is coming after that. There's no release date actually
Okay.
for it.
The first one, that's the name of the TV show, and it's gonna be a procedural cop in universe. I already got the info. Oh, maybe we can say that for later.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's,
oh my god,
you're kind of playing the characters in the TV show, is what I heard. So.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah,
oh my gosh,
yeah.
I'm so down. And new game plus mode, which has not yet been added, similar to Spider-Man 2. That's going to be an update later on. But they will include a new alternative narrative. Which is going to feature like extra manuscript pages, which is the stuff that Alan Wake is basically writing and you're finding, and it's explaining like your narrative.
You're realizing you're in his I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's not a spoiler. Like, I don't know what's going on. You know.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You don't. We're
I'm like, because the first game was like that too, where he was finding pages of a story that he wrote about himself, but he was obviously there because we wouldn't have a second one. You know.
Exactly.
But now it's happening again. You know. Yeah. Whatever.
But it will also feature in that new game plus will feature new video content too. I wonder if it's going to tie into like the expansion. Or I don't know, whatever. Probably like live action stuff. That's just really cool touches. And of course, Nightmare difficulty is going to come with that as well. Because right now it's story, normal, and hard, I think. And then Nightmare is the fourth.
Well, I mean, it sounds like a 2 out of 10 game because they didn't add the new game plus. So I mean, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's less than 20 hours.
So.
Ugh, God.
Yeah, might as well cancel it.
So I wanted to hold off on the I wanted to talk about this game last as far as new releases go, because I know how much it means to both of you. But the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 1. Oh, you hate it. That's right. So we can just move on. Okay.
More like metal poop. Am I right?
Metal, yeah.
The only Solid Snake I took was the one I took this morning. You know what I mean?
Just kidding. It was liquid. All right. So
liquid.
accidentally my way into a reference.
It's not over yet. Okay.
Anyway, I'll let y'all take the wheel. How far are you into it? Like, I think Kyle, you mentioned beating the first one already, Metal Gear Solid 1, I should say, not Metal Gear 1, awesome. Metal Gear Solid 1. Yeah, or maybe you got far enough along to beat it. I don't know, close to beating it. But I'm curious how it plays and looks and stuff as a quote unquote remaster, or if it can even be qualified as a remaster.
It's not. Right? In fact, they don't even call it a remaster. They call it a collection, because that's what it is. It is not a remaster. They did not do anything to this game at all. No.
They should take that master word out
white
of there.
glove treatment of polish. No, nothing. Yeah. It is as it was on today's hardware.
Okay.
And I'm saying that matter of factly, not facetiously, not as a criticism, because it at no point did they ever go, we are remastering these games and we are giving you a higher level experience. No. We are taking all the games as they were, putting them into a thing, gluing them together, and shipping it to you. You know, like, and that's what they did. You know, for better or for worse. You know, so.
Presentation wise, I like obviously the art of Metal Gear Solid is awesome. So the menus are like nice.
It's a Yoji Shinkawa like orgy. Like every time, no matter what menu you're looking through, it's like his beautiful artwork over everything. You're just like, oh, this is great. I will say it's kind of weird that you have to download it individually. Like, so like one game doesn't launch everything. Like you have to. But like, you know, that's just more Yoji Shinkawa like thumbnails on my crossbar, which is fine, you know.
Well, I was gonna say it's like the Final Fantasy Pixel Remaster collection that I bought, which literally installed every individual 1 through 6 individually.
This is a Japanese thing. This is a Japanese thing. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I don't know if it's like, maybe it's like, oh well, we'll let you do that because maybe you just want to download one of it's like, I don't know.
I get it, but also it's just messy.
It annoys the shit out of me. It's
interesting to me that Square did the same thing. That's kind of strange, but did you play it at all, Dan? Are you picking it up or are you waiting?
So I started one just to boot it up. I got to what is it? What's her face? Why can't I remember her name all of a sudden? Meryl. Is it Meryl?
Yes, it's Meryl, Dan.
Meryl, thank you. Okay. I got to Meryl, and then I like the zoom in of the butt because you gotta acknowledge that she's a woman.
I wanted to bring that up. It's like he was so horny even back then. Like there's so many moments where he'll zoom in on like a butt that is so polygonal, that is so not sexy at all, and I'm just like, this creep was doing this back in 1998, you know, which is funny to me. In retrospect, it was like, were we all horny for this back then? Like, what is this?
Just to put a little perspective, Kyle, I don't know if I've ever dove into my history with Metal Gear, but Metal Gear 2 is actually like where I start. So I had a demo for Metal Gear Solid 1 and I remember playing it, but I think that was at the height of like me getting super into RPGs. So it just like it wasn't blowing my mind at the time, but I thought it was cool. But I remember when I had a PS2, I finally got a PS2. I had Onimusha Warlords, the first Onimusha game was my first PS2 game, and then my second game was Metal Gear Solid 2.
I thought I bought those two whenever I got my PS2 as well.
Did you?
Yeah. Those were my first PS2 games. Yeah.
I mean, both amazing games.
They're excellent games. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where my love for. So that's why, like, sometimes my memories of 1 aren't as clear as 2 and 3.
I can connect to that because I did really like 1. I played 1 when it came out, or it's a launch window, whatever, you know. And I did really enjoy it, but the impact of me loving something so toxically didn't happen until 2. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I liked 1 a lot. I loved it. Might even be the right word, but like 2 is the one where I was just like, this is really something else, you know, like that was, So I can connect to that.
Yeah. So like, basically I've played more of 2. Like I booted up 1. I got to that part with Meryl where you meet her. Well, obviously she's in disguise, but you know what I mean. But
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe
on a really, really old game.
Yeah,
guys.
I know, but you said you wanted to play them, so
fair enough.
We'll be a little.
No,
you don't have to worry about that. Please don't be sensitive to me because these games are so old. It's not even fair.
Soldier 1. What are you talking about? Soldier 1.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second one I did the tanker. I did the first area, so I did the tanker area, and then obviously then you begin the second area, which is plant. And I'm not going to say anything specifically about that because there's a little thing that happens there going from tanker to plant. So
he's got to know. He has to know. He probably doesn't know right now, but if we said it out loud, he would. Everyone knows that.
Sure.
Metal Gear Solid 2,
Yeah. The old switcheroo there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that tanker level is just so iconic because I remember there was a demo for that as well.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day there was a demo for that, and it's just, man, I just remember playing that for the first time and just like, obviously compared to now what you can do in games now, it's like it's barely anything, but like, and when I was playing early, I was like, man, you could shoot like the light bulbs out and like the lighting actually.
Tell me what game you actually can do that. Like we've used it before, but like we don't put that in every game.
Sure.
I don't know any other game that you can shoot enemy radios out. You know, I'm sure they exist, but it's not like it's not this majorly common thing. You know.
Yeah.
So it's like
PS2 game. You know what I mean? Like it was
a PS2 game where it's like you would shoot someone's radio, you could spook them, and they'd be like, "Oh no, I gotta go to," and then their radio it's broken, and they start shaking. Like this is 20 years ago that they made this up. You know, like. And we're still not using stuff like that, you know, habitually. You know, maybe like Splinter Cells have used it in other games, but like I can't really say. But like, I feel still like that's like really unique and forward thinking, you know, for the genre.
It was just so mind blowing. And again, you actually like the light goes out. Like there's actually in the tanker, there's an area you get further, like closer to the end where there's like this sort of long hallway and you could shoot out all the lights. And it's like, it's just suddenly really, you can't see all the way down that hallway because all the lights have been shot out.
And little stuff like shooting the fire extinguisher and the smoke going everywhere. You know, obviously that's used all the time now, but at the time that was like, what? It's coming out in real time, you know? It's just really interesting, you know?
Sticking up the soldiers and then like
shaking them down.
Shaking them down. But sometimes they're like, listen, if you're gonna shoot me. So you're like, all right, and then you gotta like shoot them in the leg. Yeah. And they're like, all right, my bad. So then, you know, they shake and oh man, it's just I don't know, man. I love that game so much. So I really wanted to like mainly play that one. I unfortunately haven't started 3 yet. But yeah, like you said, it's like this isn't like spruced up. They didn't 4K it or anything.
Yeah.
Which I mean, if that's important to you, then it sucks. You know, it does suck that they didn't do that.
Yeah, and I think that it's you know, again, they're not pitching it as that, so like you're kind of bringing your own baggage in or whatever. But like I get it also. Like I get that like this was an opportunity to maybe give this in a better package that was like better to handle. That's just not what Konami like. We're lucky we're getting this, guys. You know, Konami is not in the game anymore. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where it's like you kind of have to come in and meet it where it's at. You know, sadly, no one more on Earth would want a 60 FPS. You know, 120 hertz, 4K, you know, version of these games, but it's just like we didn't get that, but it's not being sold as that either. maybe now you can talk about like, well, then this is a $40 game then. Okay. Yeah,
Sure.
It'll be there soon. Look at the GTA trilogy collection. Like that went down in price really quickly. So it's like I could see Black Friday. I could see this being $20 off immediately. So it's
that's
like
what I'm waiting for. Yeah,
that's if you're waiting and you're mad about that stuff, like this will be on sale at some point. But this is out and it exists because we literally had no other way to play it.
Yeah.
And if the price to pay to play it in any way is that it's just not in 4K. Great. We have this option now, guys. You know what I mean? So like that's awesome in my opinion.
Well, the price we're paying is also unfortunately giving Konami money because there's the whole aspect of Konami being
they left Kojima's name like in the the opening credits of every game and the end credits, but like they scrubbed them from like the menus and the box art and all that stuff. So it's like they don't, it's still like sour grapes there. So there is a yuckiness,
there is
it as well. I'm giving a kind of a shitty corporation some money that kind of stole a property. That's kind of a stretch, but stole a property from a creator, or treating it weirdly after a creator's departure, or however you want to word it,
Yeah.
But I don't really care. I have it, I'm playing it, and if you have morals that conflict you from buying this game, don't buy it. It's not a big deal.
I mean, I respect that because like I was having a conversation with someone in my Discord for which actually, Jeff, I meant to ask you, did you join?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like looking at it. I was like, I'm pretty sure those would be. I think it's Jeff. I was confused. Okay.
I just realized I'd never joined or followed you on the. Well, I mean, I followed you on Twitch, but not like the other platforms that you were on.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, welcome in. But
I'm just gonna go in there and say racist things all the time.
Yeah, I will ban you immediately. Just delete you. I will delete you forever.
So quick.
I was having a conversation with someone in there, and like, he was definitely kind of being like, hey, this is bullshit kind of attitude of like, like you can emulate this game in the 1080p for, you can up-res it and all that. So it's like, I get the arguments of like, it's possible literally to emulate it in that fashion. So I get it. And then again, on top of that, the whole Konami thing. But like the way I was coming at it, like in that conversation with him was like, ultimately at the end of the day with any video game, game preservation for me is like one of the main things. Like
it's one of the most important things to me in this industry.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point where like just a few months ago, I was like, guys, I'm thinking about buying a Raspberry Pi and just like loading it up with games just to like be a historian. I'm saving these games, or they're stored somewhere. So these games that are getting lost to time, at least people have them still. This series almost became that. I mean. Like what happened? Like the B-roll footage, like they ran out of their lease of B-roll footage, and that's why these games got taken off the store.
I didn't know.
Well, that's why they got taken off the store. Was that like they didn't up their license to use some of the B-roll footage, the live action B-roll footage they used at the end of Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, maybe even 3, I forget. So they took those down, so you couldn't buy them anymore. These games literally were going to get lost to time unless they did something like this. So sure, you can emulate these games and yada yada, but these are like you're losing the ability to have hard copies and hard files of these games when decisions like this happen. So it's like I get it, I get why people are mad, but also I'm always going to be pro preservation. And if this is the price of that, if $60 is the price to get in there to do that, then so be it for me.
And this series, like, I mean, it's one of my favorite. Like, it's up there.
It's one of the most important in turn. Like, it is why we have cinematic video games today, is because of the series, and the way that the story is shown and given to us in this medium was copied to this day. in terms of that, we weren't getting games like this before this game came out. So
the presentation's insane, dude. Like this. I was playing Final Fantasy and like I had to read all the dialogue, and then you go and play Metal Gear Solid 1, this PlayStation
1 game. Every single word is spoken in this game.
Insane.
Today we still don't do that.
Yeah,
we still don't do that today. Final Fantasy 16 had moments where you just had to read bubbles.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
True. That's true.
PS1 game literally had like every spoken role. In fact, every person, like if you made it, what was that noise? Like they would like this was not a thing that was happening at this time in video games, So
mind-boggling.
So it's a super important game. I will say, Metal Gear Solid 1. That game is so ugly. Like I can't like it is like in my mind, because I've played like Twin Snakes since then, and just in your mind like graphics don't store properly. So like going back and playing it, I'm like, boy, I don't remember nobody having faces. Like it's just like models
it's like the Squall from Final Fantasy VIII meme.
Yes. Where he's so handsome.
Like, the handsomest guy here, or whatever.
Man here. Yeah, it's just polygons. Yeah. It's a mess. So like but like the things that are not dated are weirdly the controls. I'll say shooting's really horrible in these games, but like moving around, like punching people and then hitting square to like toss them, it all works fine. It's just when you have to shoot something, like the shooting's weird because it's kind of auto aim, kind of not. It's just wonky. Just it hasn't aged well at all. And the music is still like set a standard for like cinematic music. It was right there. If we had the capability of having 4 orchestras in games, he would have used them. We didn't, so he simulated a lot of stuff. And the voice acting, it all just feels like we're still doing it just like this today. So maybe some of the performances are a little dated and stuff like that because it was 30 years ago.
It's like a slight cheese to it, but it's such a good cheese.
Yeah, that first game feels like The Rock. You know what I mean? The movie The Rock. It opens up like The Rock. You're going into a place via submarine. And that's offshore or whatever. You could tell he watched The Rock and was like, oh, I'm gonna make a video game off of that. But it's that kind of action movie kind of cheese, in terms of the dialogue and the writing and stuff like that.
But way smarter than The Rock. Like.
Well, yeah, I remember like Snake in PS1's like super horny, and he's never that way ever again. Like for the rest of the, like he's like hitting on every girl. That stuff makes me randy. He never talks like that.
He lopped it off going into 2. He just like
he was totally asexual in 2.
Yeah, he just cut it off. He just takes the thing away.
I will say, and this is good trophiesmanship in terms of like achievements and stuff like that. For Metal Gear Solid 2, you get a trophy for stimulating yourself while Otacon's on the phone with you. And I don't know if you know this, Dan, where you can get in a locker that has like the J-pop girls
you can
kiss, but if you keep leaning into it, it'll make like a it'll make kind of like a J-O noise, if you will, everybody. And Otacon will call you and be like, Snake, what are you doing? That's weird. Or not.
Okay, that's ringing a bell more so now.
And when you do that, a trophy pops up.
Trophy, yeah. There's just one for kissing the poster, but then there's even like there's a trophy too, because like I remember finding out at like back the leveling up your grip level. Yeah. Kyle doing the push-ups.
You get a level 3 for doing pull-ups.
Which is like so mundane, but like kind of cool that you can just do that.
You need that later when you're like swimming through the big shells, like drowned areas or whatever. It's very useful later. Just gotta get that oxygen up. I played. I started 2 after I beat 1. One story is just so crazy. But 2 is like where things get really heady. 1's very like, this guy is betraying us, and this goes all the way to the top, and it's so followable. Like so when people talk about like, no one understands Metal Gear Solid, no one's talking about 1. Sure. They're really talking about 2. When people are like, no one understands what Metal Gear Solid is, it's because 2 exists. So 2's my favorite personally. It holds a special place in my heart in a way similar to yours, Dan. But also, I just love what a mindfuck it is. Like it's just a mindfuck in video game. Form. And that's the one I really wanted to get to. Now that I'm here, I'm gonna slow my roll. I was really rushing through 1. But like I'm gonna just kind of take my time and just really soak it all up, and getting on that tanker, game looks like a PS2 game, still looks pretty good though, still pretty good looking game for its time.
Well, it says HD version when you load it up, so I don't know.
So that was the version that was kind of up-resed back on the Xbox 360 PS3.
Gotcha.
Also, they took away where Circle did everything and X actually selects, whereas back in the day, Circle, because it's a Konami game, Circle. But yeah, in the HD collection, they're like, screw that, Americans are too dumb, they can't relearn it, so we got to put X back as select. So yes, that is the version of the game that you're playing, is the Xbox 360 PS3 up-resed version. So
Yeah,
I'm really excited.
Then I'm
What's
guessing.
that?
I'm assuming that's the case for 3 then as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
2 and 3 are both like 1080p.
Okay.
I think 60 frames per second.
I haven't even mentioned 3. Jeff, 3 is a prequel actually. I know it's 3's after 2. I know it's a sequel.
That's how numbers work.
It's after, but it's actually a prequel, Jeff.
Well,
It's actually
a whole lot of it, dude.
3 takes place during the Cold War, dude.
That's right.
3 is really good too. It's a classic spy story. You know, it's very
James Bond music, literally.
It's
like
for the most part followable. Like its themes and like characters are like very like, oh, I understand what everyone. Like 2's like you're like, what in the F is going on here?
It's
3, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah. Like it's very on the like boots on the ground, like grounded. Yeah. It gets weird. Don't get me wrong, but like, again, people when they talk about the weird stuff, it's 2 and 4 really. Like people are like, I don't know what's going on in those games.
And it's actually very cool because like I remember playing 2, and then when 3 came out, I was like, Big Boss, what? Like I was like, what's even happening? Like what's going on here? But like now replaying 2, like they literally in that tanker at the end of that tanker section, they literally drop Patriots, Lale Lule Lo. They mention Boss and cloning.
The philosophers.
Like, they literally mention that stuff in like the first like couple hours of that game. So like it definitely like makes sense that they'd be like, all right, there's like a lot going on here in the background.
They build up so much especially in the first 2 games, like on the NES and stuff like that. It's like Big Boss just being the greatest soldier to ever live. So like when you play 3 and like you realize, oh, I'm playing as this character, it's a really monumental moment because I mean the game's themes is really like an icon is fake. You know, it's all false idols. Like these are just men and women that we're worshiping and stuff like that. It's so complex and so philosophical. It's so good. Yeah. I know like people are like, oh, it's really like it's a whatever, you know, like, oh, it's a heady video game. Kojima's full of himself or whatever. There is a lot to take away from these games in terms of like how, like when you're playing 2, how, you know, its themes are all about like controlling information and all this pre-NSA stuff that we weren't privy to years before those conversations started happening.
Sure.
And now when you look back and you're like, oh, you know, Metal Gear Solid 2 was talking about all that stuff, you know, and we're the flow of information and false flag reports and false information and they even use the terms like memes living forever before the ideas of us using memes, you know, were a thing, you know. It's weird how ahead of
it kind of forecasted some stuff though.
So when you play these games, like you don't feel like you're playing something in a time bottle. Like everything is still relevant to kind of like the things that we're dealing with in today's culture. So if people are gonna get to it for the first time, like you're playing dated games, or you're not having a dated experience, I guess is my meaning.
Yeah. You're having a pretty epic experience, something that like is quite unique and most likely you've not really experienced before, to be honest.
Yeah. And no one's trying to emulate this stuff. You know what I mean? So it's not like, well, you've seen this story before and it's been done better. It's like no one's tried has tried, did try, will try anything like this. So, you know, you're getting your Kojima flavoring with like untainted still.
And it is called Volume 1 because we do have more Metal Gears. So fingers crossed this sells.
Data mine that 4 was mentioned like 1,000 times, like in these things. But like if this doesn't sell really well, you know, Konami could just be like, we're not doing that. I don't know.
That's the thing, Kyle. Like ultimately, like
I need everyone to go out and buy this so I get Metal Gear Solid 4.
That's the most important thing, really. Like, honestly, that's the most important thing to take away from this, because literally that game only exists on PS3.
Yeah.
It only exists on the PS3.
Yeah.
So it's like there's no other way
at all. With talks of shutting that store down, and like it's just like that's another game that's about to be lost to time. Yes. You know, if we do not figure out a way to preserve it. So go out and buy these games or don't. I don't care. I just really want Volume 2 so I get Metal Gear Solid 4.
No, you know what?
Do it for me. Do it for me, guys.
Beat the shit. But yeah, no, seriously, it's fantastic. I hope we get Volume 2. Well, actually, Kyle, what do you think will be in Volume 2?
I think it'll be Portable Ops, even though it's not a Kojima game. I think it will be Metal Gear Acid. I think it will be for sure, it'll be Peace Walker and 4, 1,000%. Okay. I think they sneak on the acids, you know, as like extra games, which are the card-based games. Sure. And then the other PSP game, which is Portable Ops, which again was not really canon. It's a really great game, though.
Oh, it's not canon? Okay.
Yeah, no, Kojima didn't do anything with it, but like it's the story of how Big Boss meets Frank Yeager and like meets Roy Campbell and like kind of like enters into the world of creating Foxhound and stuff like that. So very good game. Yeah.
I'd say the only thing that would be fun to add on there, because I mean, I was thinking 5, but it's like you can still just go out and buy 5. So that
still looks great.
Yeah,
it still looks great. So, it still exists. You can still buy it easily. You know,
Metal Gear Rising would be kind of fun to throw.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. I think that'd be awesome to throw that on there. Yeah. Even though again, not canon or anything like that, but like Metal Gear through and through. You know, like bring it on here. I don't think there's a way to play that game on PlayStation 4 or 5. You know, so it's like. There's another game you're kind of saving from the clutches of obscurity, so it's like anything to make sure these games like stay alive.
Exactly.
And as many of them as we can save, please, let's throw them all on there.
Yes.
Oh, there were 2 Acid games. I didn't know that.
There are 2. Yeah, that means let's bring Metal Gear Solid Game Boy. Let's bring it over, guys. Let's save it. We gotta save them all.
All of it.
Game. Ghost Babel.
Save them all, pal.
But it's still cool that Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 is on this collection. It's cool I've never played them.
They're canon. They're hard too. So
But it's
I'm
cool
not gonna replay them. I've beaten those games. I don't need to do it again. Yeah.
I never played them.
They're tough. They're rough and tough video games.
Yeah. But it's cool that it exists.
Well, I'm stoked to get them when this thing goes on sale. It's just a matter of not having the money to buy 2 full price games at the moment. It's not a thing of principle for me because I didn't grow up with these games, so I don't really have that whole point of view, I guess. But we're gonna move on to new things that came out that we're watching, and I know we all watched Five Nights at Freddy's because it's based on a video game, and we did our homework. Nope, I didn't watch it either. Me neither.
Okay, yeah.
Five Nights.
I'm never gonna watch it.
Yeah, Five Nights.
Never gonna watch it.
Yeah, I'm never gonna watch that. Yeah.
All the nights I've never watched it.
I'm happy that the fans
0 Nights of Freddy
got something for whatever their games that they love for some reason, but
love so much that I saw on Twitter somebody TikTok of an entire brawl just go.
I saw that
at a theater.
Like 20 people just punching each other. It was awesome.
Just getting the shit out of each other. I don't know why. I don't
have the context either. But I did see the credits were rolling, so they did wait till the end of the movie.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I did pick up that. You know, my investigation skills does.
You know what it was, Kyle? Post-credit scene. They probably were mad about it.
Everyone waited. There was none. So I don't know if there was or not, but like there wasn't, even though everyone stayed. And someone was like, "You said there was going to be one." He's like, "Yeah, I guess I was wrong." Clock and then fight.
Yeah.
There we go. That's what happened.
There you go.
Well, I did see a movie a few weeks before it came out to Netflix. It managed to hit a few theaters near me. It's called The Killer. It's by David Fincher, who is one of the best directors of all time. He did Fight Club and everybody's favorite Curious Case of Benjamin Button. No, he did do that movie. I didn't really like that movie though. But he's done other ones. He did Social Network. He did Gone Girl, which is incredible. Racking my brain
the TV
here.
Show.
What?
Mindhunter. The TV show?
Mindhunter. Yes, that's right. I'm deliberately trying to leave out Mank because it was like I liked it in the moment that I watched it, and then over time I'm like, I don't think I like that movie.
Nice resume, though. Nice resume.
It's a great resume, obviously.
Everyone's favorite Aliens movie, obviously.
Of course, the first one that he did, the first movie he ever did with Joss Whedon. Oh wait, is that the one that Joss Whedon wrote?
I think
Joss Whedon wrote 4.
Oh, he did 3.
He wrote 4. Yeah.
That's right. And the director
3.
of Amelie.
We all love 3. Universally, it's a love movie.
Universally, it's beloved. Yeah.
Remember the Prison Planet, guys? Come on, let's sink our teeth in here.
He did do. I guess it was Fight Club first, then Panic Room, and I mean those are good movies. So
I never saw Panic Room.
Panic Room's pretty good. Like I mean, the tension is very real in that movie. Like it's,
I say it's fine, but it's also an iconic, generation-defining type of movie too. So.
Yes, definitely. Some of the wrong people obviously got attached to that movie, but The Killer.
No one understands the message of that movie. That's very clear.
It's lost on so
that's
many
extremely
people.
clear. Yeah. It's like toxic masculinity is bad. Everyone's like toxic masculinity. Wow. And I'm like, guys, no.
Let's go blow up some buildings.
We don't have to get into it. But that just goes to show how heady of a director he can be, is that he can make something that just like no one.
I think he even said on the press circuit for The Killer that he's like, he flat out just said the thing that I wish all directors and writers would say. It's like, it's not my responsibility how people interpret my work. Like, it's just not. It's not on me. So he basically shut down a conversation about Fight Club because he was like, look, it is weird how people have grasped onto this movie. I can't watch the movie anymore. It's just weird to watch it now, knowing how people have a grasp to it that are, I feel like, the wrong fan base, yada yada. And then he goes, "It's just not my fault that they interpreted it that way. Like, it's just not, because the material is all there."
Got their hands on it, and it was over. Yeah, it's new metal, the movie, basically.
But the killer, anyway, the killer is starring Michael Fassbender. Tilda Swinton's in it too for a little bit.
Is she doing something normal?
No, not at all.
Is she ever? Yeah.
There's actually a line that Fassbender says, because it's very Dexter-like in how he's narrating everything he's doing, because it's based on a book, so it's a lot of it's just plucked from the book, and it's his inner monologue and stuff. And he says a line when he sees Tilda Swinton that made me laugh really hard. I'm like, yep, that's perfect description. So I'm not going to spoil that, but that's a lot of the joy in the movie. Actually, is how surprised I was by everything that was happening on the screen. I just knew that the movie was about an assassin who was very skilled and seasoned, and he's kind of like hired through channels, like through like a client reaches out to somebody who has connections to other hit people, hit men, hit women, and he chooses the hitman based on their proximity and their skill level and what they're being asked to do and stuff like that. So like there's an element of world building here, but it's all like none of it's really explained. Like it's only what's really only explained so thoroughly to you is how Michael Fassbender's character, his approach is. And I'm going to use actor names because nobody really has a name in this movie. They're all like the lawyer, the hitman, the assassin, like they're all like the Brute. Like there's a guy named the Brute. There's like they're all their occupation basically. But yeah, it is like the first, if you can like get past is a weird way to say this, but I guess if you can get past like the first opening like 10-15 minutes, because a lot of it is just him narrating what he's doing and waiting for his hit to arrive at their apartment across the street. So he's just on the roof, like just, you know, sleeping, eating noodles, meditating, like explaining his life philosophy through narration. And like I loved all of that stuff. That stuff was freaking tops. And then some stuff goes sideways, and eventually his own organization, I use that term loosely, ends up having to come after him. So it's kind of like a Born Identity, but if he retained all his memories, more or less. So there is actually some really, really solid. David Fincher is just excellent at selling moments of tension and making your butthole really tight, because it's so tense in the movie. And on top of that, he's doing some action stuff that I don't think he's done ever. I don't remember the last time I saw a David Fincher movie and I was like, that was a cool action moment. So I mean, there's some of that in this movie. There's actually one scene in the movie in particular that I'm like, ooh, that was utterly amazing to watch, breathtaking even, and you're breathtaking. But it was like really, it was really stunning to watch. And so like, I almost forgot it was a David Fincher movie. Like, I mean, yes, it was. I don't know. It was his movie in a sense that like tonally it's dark and he's exploring some themes that you wouldn't guess he would explore, or I guess you would guess he would explore. But in terms of like camera work and stuff like that, and like the cinematography and like the lighting and stuff like that, I'm like, is this a Fincher movie? Like, it's crazy that he's still kind of stepping outside of himself.
That's
every
awesome.
now and
yeah,
this far in his
showing
career.
some growth even this late.
Flexing.
Yeah. This movie rules, dude. I can't wait for it to hit Netflix in like a few.
Would Scorsese call it cinema?
Cinema.
Cinema.
If it were a 4-hour movie, you would sit in your piss and watch the movie. It's cinema. Yeah.
I don't think I would ever want to do that. I don't think I ever want to do that.
Bring your diaper. I don't understand.
I don't care. It's cinema. He would definitely call this cinema for sure. Yeah,
it's kind of my new. That's my new check though. Every time I'm like, the bottom line. You said a lot of words, Jeff. You know, I really just need to know Scorsese.
What is it?
Cinema. Yeah. What do you call it? Cinema. Yeah. Anytime you're pitching a movie to me, that's I need that now.
Marvel's not cinema. It's a roller coaster. I make him sound a little Woody Allen-y, but which is disrespectful. Scorsese has like talent.
Yeah, you're comparing him to the wrong type of director.
Yeah.
Ooh, he's
that dude
that Woody
married his
Allen.
daughter, dude.
It is funny how this
That dude
movie
should be in jail, dude.
That dude should be in jail,
that guy
dude.
should be in jail, dude.
What? He's just a good old everyday New Yorker. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, he didn't make a movie literally about his circumstance. With,
Remember when he makes a
underage
movie
girls.
that New York is a character in itself? Oh, it's so pretentious. Oh God,
Never seen
he's
that
the,
before.
He's the most pretentious person.
That's
in the
what
entire
makes
world.
the movie they came together with Paul Rudd and Amy Poehler one of the best ever, because it's like
I know. I still have
they
never seen that, and I want to watch
say
it.
at least 12 times. It's like New York's a character
so
in the movie.
You recently got into Rick Glassman, Jeff. That's Rick Glassman's favorite movie of all time, and he brings it up all the time. And all it's done is remind me. I'm like, I have to see this movie because
it is such a Rick Glassman movie.
Making fun of
too.
these jokes are very
Yeah.
something that I need to witness.
Yeah, it's
driving
a
I need
joke
to see someone
into
take
the
it down.
ground until it's dead, and then you resuscitate it, and then you kill it again. Like it's just,
Love it. Yeah.
it's so perfect.
So it's a Wayne movie. Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. So it is funny to me, an observation. Like I in my top 10 of the year so far, I have Killers of the Flower Moon and then The Killer, not in that order per se. It's just funny how many other killer movies are there that I got to put in my top 10 this year. It's very
Jeff, big fan of Killing.
Yeah,
big fan.
Jeff is in the
huge fan. Lots of killing.
You know, you're in your killing era, if you will.
I'm in my killer era, apparently.
Yeah.
This is God, what a Zoomer thing to say. That's so cringe. That's so cringe. But I love the shit out of this movie, and I think everybody that is on this podcast regularly would actually really like it.
It's going to be on Netflix, right?
Yeah, November 10th. Whatever the Friday is closest to the 10th.
I'm very excited to see
that.
this, and I'm glad that he did something good, because I was really sour after like Mindhunter went down the way that it did.
Yeah, and then he was like, "I can't do it. I can't bring it back." I'm like, bull crap.
I'm like,
you could totally bring it back.
Figure out a way to do it, you weirdo.
Yeah.
What happened with Mindhunter?
Mindhunter had what I would call a really popular first and second season, but I guess just not popular enough where Netflix was willing to meet the funding that Fincher needed to do 3. So they both decided they just weren't going to do it. And I'm like, it's literally the best show y'all have ever done.
It is wild, right?
Yeah, why are you both
Netflix does some dumbass decisions, especially the past few years.
Yeah,
raising prices twice this year. Yeah.
Well, and what was that show, the new show that did Dark, by the people who did Dark?
Oh my God, yeah.
1899. It was great.
I'm going to use some hyperbole here, but I knew personally thousands of people who watched that show. So I don't understand how it just didn't reach numbers. I'm like everybody watched it.
So
they even bragged about it 2 weeks before they canceled it. They were like,
they did.
Look at how amazing this show is.
You're gone. Yeah, so I just sometimes I don't understand what
I don't get
what the deal is either.
Yeah. Dark is legitimately one of my favorite shows. I'm so mad.
Straight up masterpiece, and it sounds like it's right up Kyle's especially alley.
Yeah.
Because of how cerebral, we love that word, cerebral it is. You know,
it's a bad word. You're not supposed to use that word.
I'm sorry. It just means if you don't like it, you're dumb.
A pretentious
That's what
word.
it means. Yeah.
I can't believe you said that.
I forgot to mention Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor did the score for The Killer, and it's like one of their best in a long time.
The 3 of those guys are real magical together. With Fincher,
they are.
Those 2 guys with Fincher, yeah.
Trent Reznor, pretty cool.
Yeah, this one especially is like there's a running theme or at least he talks about his heartbeat a lot, and how he has the character, Michael Fassbender's character, has a smartwatch that monitors his heart rate because he wants to make sure it's low enough before a kill. He has a whole logic behind it. He doesn't want to be too excited because he can cause an error if he's too excited.
Sure.
So they actually incorporate some weird distorted heartbeat stuff into the score that is just unbelievably good. It's so unnerving.
That sounds very Reznor-y.
Yeah,
it's so funny. Growing up listening to 9 Inch Nails, which I was a huge fan of. Never was like, this guy is gonna win Grammys for best.
Yeah, Oscars for scores.
Never in a million years did I see that trajectory.
Dude, there's some songs I actually started re-listening to something because it just had been a while. I was like, oh yeah, I like 9 Inch Nails. Let me listen. There's some pretty horny songs in his earlier albums.
I mean,
the 90s for rock was a very horny time between him and Rob Zombie. It was such a horny time. Yeah.
Just so abrasive. Good lord.
He just wants to F you
at the same time, though. That album with their most famous album.
Which one?
God,
all of their albums are. I feel like
I mean the one that has Perfect Drug and it has March of Pigs on. It has every single like major hit from the grunge era on it.
Not Reptile, right? It's not Reptile.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, that album, I was just trying to say that's a masterpiece album. That's all I'm trying to say. Like I remember listening to it for the first time all the way through because I knew most of the songs. Downward Spiral.
Downward Spiral. There we
Downward
go.
Spiral. Yeah. Oh man.
Had Closer on it. But like every song like bleeds into the next one on that album, and that is just freaking masterful. It's like
they're great. Or
it has Hurt on it.
It's always been him, right? He's great.
Pretty much just him.
Yeah.
And his band is just there for like touring purposes, so they can
go
on tour.
Yeah.
And even then, when you watch them play like March of the Pigs, you're like, how did he translate what he did in the album to this live performance that's so electric and like violent and amazing to watch? It makes no sense sonically. Like, how do they do that?
I've never seen him live. I would like to see him.
I would have like even
Chaos.
when I was growing up, he was doing the "This is my last tour" thing. I remember being a teenager, and I'm never gonna tour again after this. Everyone come and see me.
Dude's got like 60 albums, and he's like, "This is my last one." No, shut up, dude.
Yeah, I'm not touring ever again, guys. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I remember you said this last year.
You're a liar.
Huge fan growing up of his. That was like naughty music, you know. Like mom didn't like that music, you know. It was industrial and weird, and you know.
It was up there with Nirvana of like, you know, your parents going, "These kids better not be listening to this crap.
These kids are listening to the wrong stuff." You know?
Yeah, exactly. A Corn too. Like you're just too violent.
Isn't Nine Inch Nails? Isn't that like a direct reference to like heroin or something too? So it's like I think the whole package is just it's tainted. Parents hate it.
It's funny. He was actually the most evasive guest on that podcast called Song Exploder, which has it's one guy, I don't remember his name, nor can I pronounce it. But it's one guy interviews songwriters, and he straight up just asks them, what was your process between writing the song, you know, and also he tries to get an answer out of the writer if it's a mysterious song, you need a dramatic song. He's like, what was it about? And Trent Reznor is so famous for saying, I'm never going to answer that question. He has been in every interview. He said, I'm never going to tell you what my songs are about. Hilarious. And even then, this was like, I think they filmed it for Netflix. This was on Netflix in 2016 or 17. And he still had the nerve to ask Trent Reznor, so, okay, cool. So what was this song about? And he's just like, just silence. Just didn't even answer him. He's just like, you're really not gonna. He's like, dude, I told you. Like, it's like my answer hasn't changed from the 90s. Like, I'm still not
respect that kind of conviction.
There's no age he's gonna reach that he's like.
I
okay,
like that though, because some people
about.
Get really like.
Wow. Explainy.
I was going through a rough time at that time. And, you know, it's really an allegory for shut up.
Yeah,
I don't want to hear that.
In a way, and I kind of resent myself for divulging the meanings of my songs when I do that. But that's just because I like talking about music and songwriting.
It's different when you're doing it and you're explaining it to yourself to friends and being on the stage of the world and being like, well, everybody, you know, like let me explain to this thing to you guys that y'all all probably felt something different about. Right. You know, let me explain to you.
When
how
you're that
wrong.
Famous, it's frustrating when you hear the meaning of a song because it almost robs. It almost robs the listener of what the meaning is to them. And they're like, well, now that I know the song is about that, well, it means less to me now. Like, it's just... So it's a bad tactic, in my opinion, when you're on a national scale.
I don't personally need to know what they were... Like, you're writing... It's just weird to even... it feels like a weird
art,
question.
And art is supposed to evoke something personally out of you.
Right.
You know, so it's like the mileage is going to vary, you know, of what's affecting whom, you know.
That's the thing with games like Alan Wake 2 that are very not on the surface. You know, like very much like you have to dig deeper for it.
Like I
know
multiple people that I would be like, you wouldn't like this game.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, you know,
and it's the same for me with people like Reznor and his music, where you're not going to get a surface level.
Oh yeah, if someone my age is like, do you think I would like Trent Reznor or Nine Inch Nails? I'm like, you would have found him by now.
Sure.
You know, like. No, I don't think you would like. Like, I don't. I don't think so. No,
that's a slim chance.
Yeah, there's always a slim chance. The door's always open. But, you know, like I'm not gonna. I'm not Morpheus. I'm not walking you to the door. You know, like you would know if you're into that music.
Yeah,
like I'm 37 years old. Like you would know.
If you're a big Swiftie,
you this song called Starfuckers.
Yeah. If you're a Swiftie, don't. Just steer clear. Like,
but if she started dating Trent Reznor,
maybe they give a crap.
Maybe.
Yeah, suddenly they care about football. They know everything about it.
Right.
It'd be super cool if there's a bunch of Swifties out there who knew everything about Trent Reznor. Like, this is we woke up in a weird world today.
Yeah. You know what my perfect drug is?
I talked to I have a friend who Kyle and I went to high school with that I still talk to regularly, and she's a major Swiftie, more than she is ever a football fan. Sure. And she's like, she feels the same way that football fans do about this whole thing. She is like, it's like I woke up in Bizarro World, and suddenly people that I find offensive as people, like dudes, like macho dudes, are like, know the stuff about Taylor that's just like, it's so for her it's Bizarro World too.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, there are terminally online people that are Swifties that are just taking obviously everything way too far.
I don't know. I think that dang Hadron Collider did something, guys. I think we lived.
I think so too.
I think something
absolutely
happened.
It absolutely
did. Berenstein.
Shut it down.
Like, there's too many things going on here.
Nelson Mandela died twice.
Yeah. Avril Lavigne is a clone. Like we're living in a.
Oh my God.
We're living in a strange one, guys.
It's like Paul McCartney. It's like Paul McCartney.
Yeah. Right.
Speaking of things that we're watching, so transition to TV shows now, because there's something that's been at least hotly discussed among people that have like seen clips of it and not the full episode, or have seen the full episode and have identified with the wrong parts of the show, in my opinion. The new South Park special. Everybody's kind of talked about it.
I didn't realize there was so much buzz going on.
It's been like, at least on Reddit, whenever somebody shares a clip, it's like a mixed reaction of like, haha, they're making fun of everybody, haha, they're making fun of lefties, haha, they're making fun of conservatives. So everybody is all over the map.
Pandering to everybody. Is that what that means? The first one's right. I mean,
yeah, I think they're making fun of everybody fairly.
Yeah, I think it's everybody. Yeah.
It's the special's called Joining the Panderverse, and it's
go ahead, Jeff.
It's their version of a multiverse story, but the other universe that they're exploring is one where everybody is a checkbox, basically. Like everybody's a token gay person of color woman.
Yeah.
But they're playing exactly how, all the kids are. Like they're playing Kyle, they're playing Stan, they're playing Cartman, but they're just black and or Hispanic or a woman and gay. Like they're just all
checking all the boxes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Checking
that's the point.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. Like it starts with Cartman having a bad dream. That's his version of a bad dream. Is all of them are replaced by women that are people of color. Women of color, let's put it that way, and they're all
bad.
But they all talk identically to how the kids talk in the show. So that's what makes it extra funny. Is like hearing an actual black woman's voice say the stuff that Cartman says is just so freaking funny.
Yeah,
so funny, dude. But then eventually, at some point, there's a rift in the multiverse. Obviously, that's how this.
Well, they're constantly making fun of like, the multiverse is such a cheap. Like
so
plot
cheap.
device. It's so tired out, and it's so self-aware, and that part's really funny too. And Disney's on the hit list. They like make fun of Disney the entirety of of the episode.
Kathleen Kennedy specifically ends up being the
Kathleen Kennedy is literally the thing they're making fun of most, or also kind of defending in a way like,
at the end, in
a way because the reason why she went crazy is because everybody was like really unfairly mean to her, and like they're just it's a good self-aware of the times.
There's
South
balance
Park
in the
episode,
ending, but I definitely think the wrong people are gonna just clip out parts of the show and just go,
"Oh, sure,
this is why." Like I shared that clip of the Cartman pretending to be Kathleen Kennedy bit, where he's like, where the board of directors will be like, "We're really struggling with this Marvel property," and he's like, "Well, how about you put a chick in it and make it gay?" And like he says that.
But that's your tactic for all these movies now, and she's like, "Yes, so it's like that's."
But it's even when he's being served food, he's like, "What the hell is this? I want a chicken it, and I want it made gay, and I want it lame too."
Jesus.
Well, the chef was kind of confused about that order. Yeah,
the chef was confused.
It's just it's South Park. You know what I mean? Like I don't think they're ever on anybody's side. I don't think they ever have been. I couldn't even tell you, like, I mean, I know because I know them from interviews and stuff like that, but like watching South Park, you don't know where like Trey Parker and Matt Stone even lean, because like I don't think they inject their own politics into anything. They just, if anything, they inject their own realism takes on stuff, maybe.
Yeah,
but not their
like,
personal politics on anything.
Yeah,
like look how dumb all of this is. This is like a realistic, objective. Everyone looks stupid type of take.
Right.
Which has always been the DNA of the show.
Always,
in my opinion.
always.
They literally murdered the chef character the way that they did because that voice actor was all like,
make fun of Scientology.
He had no problem making fun of every other religion, but the second it was his, he became a giant.
So they murdered the shit out of him.
They did, yeah. God.
Yeah.
So they had like then his body fell down rocks. Then his body was then his body
came and ripped his body. Yeah.
Then somebody peed on him, and like it was just ridiculous.
They just don't care. They don't care.
They just don't.
Yeah.
And I actually love that that there's that scene actually where they go to the principal's office after Cartman is replaced by because of the rift in the multiverse, is replaced by a black gay woman. So they go to the principal's office and they're like, "Principal, this is clearly not Cartman." And the principal's like, "You have a problem with Cartman being a black gay woman?"
Yeah.
And he's trying to spin it around on them and make it sound like they're racist. And the kids are like, no. Like with Miles Morales, for example, is cool because he's got like his own narrative and story about this is just a black gay woman just for the sake of being a black gay woman. Like there's no like
sure.
So like I think that's when they let their real point of view in, is through the kids a little bit.
Yeah. And to tie it into video games, they mentioned Baldur's Gate 3 like 1,000 times.
They do.
Yeah, it's actually a reason for why a lot of this is happening, to be honest. Yeah.
It's because Cartman just wants to stay home and play Baldur's Gate 3, yes.
Yeah,
It's really funny.
Sure.
And they even burn Larian too for not allowing cross saves, which is like Larian even replied to that on Twitter. It's a very specific burn that only nerds like Trey and Matt could make,
Yeah, yeah.
These guys are clearly playing that game, like.
Absolutely, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's like the Lord of the Rings or the medieval or
they did a World of Warcraft one too.
Or the Warcraft, that's what it was.
Yeah. But they also, of course, they made those 2 video games that were incredible. It's a really, really funny. I haven't laughed that hard at a South Park episode or show, special, whatever.
Oh, I thought it was firing on all cylinders. Yeah,
absolutely.
I thought it was absolutely amazing. Yeah.
Jesus, man, when the PC
was this like a longer episode?
Yeah, it's like 45
it's like an hour,
40.
45.
Okay, yeah,
something like that. It was one of those Paramount Plus deals where it's like Paramount Plus signed an exclusivity deal with some streaming content, but they don't own the rights. I think Warner Brothers or somebody else owns the rights to the show. So you won't find the whole show on Paramount Plus. You'll find specials. Sure. But I think the whole show's on like Max or something.
It is on Max, yeah.
Yeah. So there's like a whole battle.
Max is mad because they're supposed to own the rights to all of South Park. That at some point that those streaming shows are supposed to be on there. So there's like a big fight going on about that right now. Yeah.
At some point, it's just going to end with them going, "Guys, maybe we should just start our own like joint service and just call it
South
cable.
Park streaming service."
We're just going to call it cable and just unite. And then we're going to go full circle and just all be cable subscribers again at some point. That's what's going to happen.
It sounds like a multiverse of streaming services. Is what it sounds like. They're all going to fight each other.
They literally had
what a cheap narrative device. Yeah.
They literally had a special called The Streaming Wars, and
stop it.
And it ended up being more literally about like water and the flow of, I think piss was involved too at one point. It ended up being literally streams, but they were making parallels to the current situation.
Sure. Yeah.
Actually, there is a sub story in this special about about handymans. Like plumbers and like
the dang AIs are taking all of the real jobs. So now the only way you can make money today is by actually knowing how to do stuff with your hands.
Yeah.
So now like treated shittily like broke handymen are now the richest people in the world. Like
and the way they drew him was like he was like super redneck and like I'll fix it for you.
Yeah.
And so seeing him roll up with like expensive looking cars and limos each time they call him because he's the only one making money in the economy.
Sure.
And then they make a parallel when because the leader of that story is Stan's dad, obviously Randy, who's like obviously he's always in the silliest stories. But as soon as he hears about Kathleen Kennedy, he doesn't even know who she is. He's just like, yeah, it's her fault this is happening. So there's a whole parallel between like how people online get razzed up about like Kathleen Kennedy and what she does to Star Wars and Indiana Jones. They don't even know who she is. Like, I mean, that's or
people like to forget that she's been around since Empire Strikes Back. And let me check my notes. Yeah, we all like that one. So
yeah,
and she's been involved with everything since then.
Yes. God, she's been around for Raiders.
Yeah,
I think she
whatever,
was in the credits for Raiders or something like that. So I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I think we like Indiana Jones guys because she did those too.
yeah,
she ruined the new Indiana Jones. I'm like, she made the first three. Like, what are you?
yeah.
What are you talking about? Like,
Blaming
so wild.
like fourth person.
Like I get you want to have somebody to blame for something.
With whatchamacallit, with I'm sorry, the Aliens one that everybody
Crystal
hates.
Skull.
Oh yeah, the fourth
Everyone
one,
hates that one the most, and she didn't have anything to do with that one. So
yeah,
Well,
was not Disney property yet, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't bring too much logic to this though. So
the other TV stuff I wanted to mention was, Kyle, did you finish Shoresy season 2?
Yeah,
it was 6 episodes, easy to knock out.
Like 2 hours. Yeah,
exactly. I finished it too. I was watching it weekly. Don't ask me how, but they aired it weekly in Canada, and I was able to watch.
Something illegal, were you?
No, I wasn't doing anything illegal. I was clearly doing something honorable and very legal.
No, okay.
And fact check me, but not too deeply. Just don't keep your hands out of my internet.
Jeffrey sending secrets to the Patriots.
I just wanted to mention this because anybody that likes Letterkenny would easily like the show, even if you're like me and you like Letterkenny, but you don't love it for whatever reason. Like, I feel like this show just hits differently, like, in my opinion. Like, it is exploring a lot of the same silliness and the humor, but I feel like the pacing of the jokes is a little different, if that makes sense. It's really hard to explain why I like this show more, but it is, I don't know. I just feel like Letterkenny has like this like poetic type of style sometimes with its comedy, where it's like hammering a joke home really hard for several minutes. And Shoresy just doesn't do it as much to me. And I just like the characters in the show. Like, I don't know what it is. Anyway, I just love Shoresy so much, and it's ridiculous. And every time he does the who, me, or huh, interrupting huh, every single time.
We do that at work all the time to each other now. Huh?
Who,
like just right in the middle of someone talking.
For what?
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I mean, these are like talk about like, we just like took this from Canada and we're like, this is ours now, in terms of like American streaming, because like
this is ours now.
It was extremely popular before I even got to it. Like, I think it was on its 5th season whenever I jumped on board. It's like on season 12 right now or something crazy. I forget.
Yeah.
But like everybody I knew had already been watching it before then, and it's just like it's something that grew and blew up overnight because like Crave TV stuff started coming out on Hulu, and like it just became a Hulu darling or whatever.
It did.
Now we're getting all these spin-offs and stuff like that, and it's obviously a small production. Like, these guys just must be making so much money from this because of how popular it is. And
I think that's another reason they're able to spin around new seasons so quickly, not just because of
it's like 6-episode seasons,
But I assume they're using like these properties in Canada legitimately, and the parts of Canada that are smaller that it's super cheap to film at,
Yeah, it's gotta be. Yeah. Not very many sets, like they're usually in 5 different types of locations, like in Letterkenny,
Yes.
Shoresy's kind of the same way. They're usually in the office, in the apartment, or in that bar, or one of the 2 bars, or that restaurant. That's 5. Yeah, there's literally like 5 places there too. So it's like they keep it really simple, like a sitcom, like a Friends.
It's like a bottle episode every
like
episode,
that,
basically. Yeah, it's.
But yeah, it's rapid fire jokes, just a high LPM.
I love the bit at the bar. I think it's in like the 3rd episode or something, where they're like, we should talk about more deep stuff, like.
Yeah.
Like, space. Isn't space huge or whatever?
Yeah, right.
And Shoresy's like, that's what you want to start with? Like, it's
isn't space huge?
Yeah.
And then they just rapid fire off of that. They're just like roasting the guy for starting with such a dumb premise. It's just great. If you like laughing, like, I mean, I think I said it on Kyle's post when we shared information about this season coming out. I was just like, this is a great weekend for laughing. Like, it's like, and speaking of that,
there's a lot of stuff.
Speaking of that, Pete Holmes dropped a new special, and it is appropriately titled "I Am Not for Everyone," because this guy's personality is hit and miss, man. Even with people that I talk to that love stand up, they're like, I don't know about that guy, man. I just can't with the way he presents his jokes and laughs at them sometimes. I just can't.
Yeah.
No.
He's very unpolished. I mean that like purposefully so, like he's not up there delivering a concise, studied, perfect hour. He's like you said, laughing at his own jokes. He's kind of like, Yeah, the audience didn't really like that one, huh? You know, very
Yeah,
self-aware.
he'll
like,
call it out.
He'll
Yeah.
stop the performance to like be fourth wall breaking or whatever, and like that's gonna rub people the wrong way.
That was the biggest
I love
comment
it.
that
I
I
think
saw
that's
on
the
Reddit
type of
was
stuff
like, I
love.
wish he would stop being so meta. And I'm like, that's kind of part of his charm to me, is like being
You're asking him
aware.
to stop doing
so
his routine. You
fucking
know?
critical of
I know.
these
I
things.
just
Like,
laugh,
it's-
bro. Just laugh.
Or you could just
Either
go,
laugh or
hey, I don't
don't.
laugh at
Like-
this. I'll go to one of the other 1,000 people
Right.
out there who
Yes.
do this
Yeah.
job
Yeah.
and pick someone
Yeah.
else to do. You know,
It's
like
literally
But
the
his
purpose
jokes
of
are
the-
so. That's the thing with his joke writing is like, I can never predict the next word that's going to come out of his mouth. I can predict where the joke's going to go, but the
Yeah.
way he describes what he's going through or the scenario that he's in, I could never like guess the words that he would choose. Like when he
Sure.
talks about, he's friends with Kumail Nanjiani, and he talks about how Kumail got really buff over the pandemic, and how he's like, I would never want to get that buff, even if you could pull a lever and poof, my body looks like that, because you would be able to guess what I do every single day, all day. I'm at the
Yeah.
gym all the time. This body, it's a mystery. Like, and it was just like, just the way he described how he does not work out.
and
was like,
why?
I don't-
yeah.
Yeah, like just the way he's and then he describes certain scenarios about like he's like, dreams about pancakes, you might be getting warm. Like it's just like just the way he phrases his examples. I could never guess where he's going. And that's what I love about his comedy.
Hey, and that's
and
what's
how
fun about-
philosophical he tends to
Yep.
get to, like about like our existence in general.
Yeah, he can get really existential, and he
Yeah.
is very thoughtful, despite being maybe one of the goofiest dudes doing stage work. You know?
so goofy. He's a goofy MF.
Very, very
that's for
silly.
sure.
I've watched his first episode on Take Your Shoes Off podcast, and those two guys together, him and Rick Glassman, is so chaotic because they're both just there being silly, and their silly storms are just like hits.
Yeah.
Like,
silly storms.
I just like these guys. Like Pete Holmes is a type of comedian that's just not like your everyday comedian. You know what I mean? Like he's not going up there and doing like what you would call like a normal, show or whatever.
Right.
And I think that like you need that type of stuff. You need
Oh, yeah.
it takes all types, to run that business. So.
I've watched the special twice already. Like
Yeah.
I feel like it's probably my favorite special of the year, and I don't say that lightly because Shane Gillis is really high up there too, with Beautiful Dogs. So it's just a great year for stand up yet again. Actually, I think last year was a little weaker compared to this year. This year is like there's some very heavy hitters this year.
This is the
kind
first
of
year I've
absurd.
actually stayed up with it, and
Yeah.
I've been very happy.
I definitely
so far.
recommend on Netflix. I think I mentioned it last week, right? Beth Selling special. That's one of my favorites too. She's just got a delivery about her that's like a stoner chick, basically, but she can do a bit like very heavily. Kind of. That's what's surprising about her is like when she talks like her mom, it's very, very dramatic and loud, and she's just the opposite personality. But anyway, Pete Holmes like has that. God damn it, dude. That bit about when he starts talking about God or whatever, a creator, whatever. And then he transitions into a poop joke. Like, not even a second goes by, and he starts talking about pooping.
He really brings the audience to a place of existentialism and thoughtfulness. And then while they're there, he's like, "You ever poop so much or whatever the joke is?" I don't want to give it away, So it's like you're all the way up here, and like you just bring someone down to the lowest common denominator of like, isn't poop funny? Like it's just it's just a whiplash effect of comedy. Like
that's what made the joke even funnier was like what he was talking about right before it. So like the context of it matters. So that's why the joke itself.
That to me is just
funny.
smart, man. Just that zigzagging all over the place
you're dragging the audience with you unwillingly through your like chaotic ADD. Probably a little bit autistic mind. Yeah.
Highly recommend listening to. He was just on Andrew Santino's podcast, Whiskey Ginger, and talk about a guy who is a yes and type of improviser who's just like, just go on a journey with me. Let's do bits. It's just like Rick Glassman.
Which is so weird to think of Andrew Santino. Like Andrew Santino is silly like that, but like I would have never guessed that like from the outside.
Yeah. But so Holmes was giving his exact philosophy on comedy, and he was like, he was basically saying, I don't want to leave a stand-up show with the same crap that I came in with. Like, I don't want to come in with this whole, like, comedians that are like, isn't sleep great? Yeah. Isn't sex great? Yeah. Is it eating great? Yeah. I don't want comedy to do that. Like, he's like, I want it to be dark. and I want to talk about philosophy and stuff like that. And I'm like, damn, that made me like appreciate his brain even more than I already do. And I already thought he was a deep thinker. He's also Batman. Like if you've
go back
Batman
and watch
sketches,
all the X-Men videos and all the Batman videos.
Oh my god,
those are so fun.
They are. I mean, like if you're not a fan of him, I don't know a single person on earth I've shown those to that were like, I don't get that. Like that's the funny. Those are some of the funniest things you can watch on the internet. You know,
Harvey Dent. Can we trust him?
I did not know that.
I'll riddle you with this. Let me guess. This is a real stumper.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
He's so fantastic, dude.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah.
I just actually caught the other day, and I didn't even realize he had done this. I don't know if you guys listen to, because I don't like single people podcasts. Bill Burr's Monday Morning Podcast.
I don't like single people podcasts. Yeah, I don't like those.
Okay.
Yeah, I tend not to either.
I love Bill Burr, freaking love Bill Burr, but I don't listen to his podcast unless like he's doing like a bit with Nina, his wife, or Nia rather, or he has somebody on. But he did like a Monday morning podcast like special, I guess back in April of this year. And it was like almost 2 hours, but it was basically a stand-up special. Like he had people in the audience. It was like a special, and it was just improv stand-up special.
Yeah, I saw some clips of it, and it was just stream of consciousness.
Yes,
but it felt like stand-up because he is a stand-up comedian, and like,
yeah.
You know, he could be getting bits in real time out of that special now that it's recorded. You know?
And I didn't even know about it. It was just it just popped up on YouTube, and I was like, what even is this? And I was watching it, and I was like reading the comments, and then people are like, this is insane. How is he just like creating a stand-up special essentially from thin air? Like, because that's basically what it was. It basically
we're living in a really like golden age of comedy right now, because there's so many people like blowing up in really big ways. Like you even have that Matt Rife guy who's like putting out his third special this year in November.
Jeez.
So it's just like you have these like new up and comers who are just like somehow have so much stuff to say, and you'd think that like, how do you have so much like worldliness at such a young age already? You know,
I mean, Matt Rife, we understand what it is. It's like he's an attractive guy. He's got cheekbones and lips.
He's also razor sharp with crowd work. Like it's
his crowd work is next level.
It is out of this world.
Him and the bald, the guy who looks like the exact opposite of him visually. The bald fatter guy. What's his name? He's got a funny name.
I don't know.
You showed him to
Stavros.
Stavros, yeah.
Yeah, Stavros. I love that guy. He's great.
He does great crowd work. Even the guy that Derek mentioned that brought him up to us, and we were like, how have we not heard this guy? His joke writing is on fire. Jeffrey Asmus, he does great crowd work too. Crowd work is really the way to get viral nowadays. I've noticed.
I think a lot of people are getting in the door that way.
I've noticed. Does it Rory Scovel? Does he do that? No, I don't think he does that. There was somebody that I've already followed. I'm already a fan of their comedy, and they started doing crowd work, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know they did that.
Mark Norman does really good crowd work. You know?
Mark Norman is definitely one. Yes.
A new up and comer, Troy Bond. He does really good crowd work. He gets interrupted all the time, and like he's really good if you've never heard of him.
There's a woman who's kind of like got like a stoner vibe. It's not best selling. She's kind of an up and comer too. I don't remember her name.
An older woman?
Nah, she's kind of like our age. Maybe a little younger, but she's got tattoos and stuff. But she's really good with crowd work too. And I wish I remember her. I only seen like 2 clips of her.
I feel like that's the way. If like you can control a crowd that way, and you're making everybody laugh off the cuff without anything, you know, like big Jay Okerson's a big crowd work guy, you know, because he's obviously like
sit on a stool and crowd work.
And these are all like. All these people are studying at the altar of Dave Attell, you know, who is like the master of crowd work. So it's it's
Believe
interesting.
It or not,
I like where we are with comedy nowadays.
This really sucks to admit it because I'm still grossed out by the guy as a person, but like TikTok, the algorithm will show me Chris D'Elia sometimes. And there's a recent thing that he did with crowd work, a recent thing that had me laughing so hard. So I'm like, this guy's so quick on his feet, but his jokes are just never land the same. Like they just don't.
Yeah, and he's so playful on podcasts too. You know, where it's like you're so naturally funny. Why do you have such bad specials?
They just don't feel as good.
And why do you like kids or whatever the thing is?
Or whatever the thing is.
Wait, who is this?
Chris D'Elia.
He was in shows with like Rick Glassman and Brent Morin.
Whitney.
and Whitney Cummings and stuff like that.
You may recognize him if you saw a
Oh,
picture of
does
him.
he have the longer black hair?
Longer black hair.
And the
yeah.
eyebrows.
That dude,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, before it was like normal to have handsome people in comedy, he was like one of the quote unquote thought,
He was like one of the only ones that was like, look at this hot guy.
Yeah, I'm having a similar dilemma, Jeff, where I'm re-listening to all of 10-minute podcasts, and I'm like, boy, he's such a problematic person, but these are really funny.
yeah, he got in trouble for he would approach. He got basically accused of grooming with text messages that were shared online as proof. Where he would like reach out to fans and be like, "You want to come to the show? I'll pay for your plane ticket." Like literally, people out of state. I'll pay for your plane ticket. You come here, blah blah blah, and then he'll find out they're 17 and be like, "Oops, never mind." But then he'll reach out a year later and be like, "Do you want to come to my show?" So I mean, it's a
bad look. Yeah,
it's a bad look. It's a really bad gross look. And there was recent footage that came out of him. Like he got caught doing it like 2 years ago or whatever it was, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Here's my apology video. Smash that like button. I'm so sorry." And then it was like this year, right?
Back, please. Yeah.
Wasn't it this year or late last year that there was like video evidence of a girl talking to him on the phone, and he's still cheating with some younger people. So like, he's still at it, and he's like 40 years old, and like he can get any girl, and he apparently took that as a challenge.
And he's got a kid, I think, too, so it like makes it a little extra creepy. If you're a groomer and you have kids, it's like, it's too close. Everything's everything's too messy.
Straight to jail right away. Straight to jail.
I am so sorry. Please smash that like button and hit the next.
Please give me my brand back, please.
I'm so sorry. Brought to you by Cash App.
Bummer. Yeah, we brought it all down, everybody. Here we are.
I know. We'll just go right to other things that we're playing. These are our quote-unquote quick hits, but one hit that might not be as quick is Spider-Man 2, because I know Kyle and I beat it. Dan, where are you in the game?
I'm like in the midst of Black Suit Spidey.
Nice. So you're giving the attitude already. You're getting bully Lowenthal, as everybody's calling him.
I just left the Foundation. There's a whole thing that happened at the Foundation.
Okay.
So I just did that mission. I did that mission.
Which part?
Oh, the Foundry, like the thing that the explosions and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, where Harry and Peter have the Foundation thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that whole
with
thing.
Tombstone. Yeah, and that thing that was a really fun set piece. There's some really epic.
Well, no, that was.
I think he's talking about the Foundation, like their foundation, like their
company. So it was after that then. Okay.
Yeah, when they're trying to mix the thing together to help somebody. So.
Yeah. That's way after. Yeah. Never mind. Because you're right. He has a suit by that.
Coney Island stuff was really cool too.
The Coney
Island was great. And did you? I don't know if you guys. I did not do this, but if you open your map when you're at Coney Island, it shows you Coney Island. Like.
Oh.
Shows you the map that you get when you're at Coney Island.
Oh, I did, but I didn't know that was okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was the actual map.
Yeah, it's the actual map that you get, and it tells you where everything is and stuff like that. Cool. That's so freaking rad. That part was almost like too immersive, like to the point where it's like, you could have given me blah blah blah, and you gave me this.
Yeah, sure.
It borderline wants you to become an entitled gamer. But I mean, I loved it. I love my time with it. I think,
dude,
I think Kyle did too.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah.
Dan might like it. I don't know. He might it might justify all his Spider-Man purchases.
No, I really loved it. Dropped a bit. It was good, and I thought that the changes to like the combat in terms of like now like things don't slow down to a crawl when you're trying to use like a web bomb or something, or a web thing or whatever. Like it kind of kept the momentum going, and you had more options of things to use because of the shift keys. I thought it was just better handled. So I saw people saying otherwise, which is it is what it is, but like for me, I don't want anything to slow down when I'm with Spider-Man. I just want it to be like speed. When you slow down to do a cool hit or something, that's fine, but like I don't want something on my end to slow anything down when I'm trying to like build a bunch of momentum and stuff like that. It kind of breaks up my flow. So the fact that my flow went unbroken many times in this game was nice. Especially
when you get that Venom suit and you're like, crowd control becomes a breeze with that symbiote suit, man.
Yeah.
Unbelievable how many people you can pick up at the same time with that ability.
Oh yeah, like smash moves.
Yeah. And then I think later, whatever, there's other abilities you can get, and I'm like, why would I ever change from that ability? Like, it's just crazy.
It's so funny to me, like, and I'm sorry. I feel like we dump on these movies too often, but like those Venom movies, in hindsight, should seem way shittier than ever now.
Yes.
After after getting this Venom story.
Yeah.
Like you should be like, oh, this is what a Venom story. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I feel like those movies, it just put a magnifying glass over how bad they actually are now, because this is presented so well. It's such a good take on telling a new Venom story in terms of like Eddie Brock's not here. That's not a spoiler. They already said that in the marketing and stuff like that. So it's just like that type of
different
stuff.
Angle.
It's a different angle. It's a different take. It's a different telling, and like, but that still feels like it's supposed to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and Dan, you'll see, surely you'll get there, and then like there's a critical part in the story where you're like, oh, this is a Venom story, because the first over half of the game is a lot of Kraven. Like, I mean, it's a lot of you contending with his forces and what he's bringing to the city. You know,
I've never been like, oh, Kraven's cool. Like, I mean, like the idea of it is cool. Like Peter or Spider-Man being like, oh shit, like this guy's like can actually overpower.
He's straight up killing people.
He's hunting. Yeah. He's like murdering people. I was like, oh, we're doing that. Like, holy crap! Like that happened.
They did a lot of stuff that you can't undo in this game. I was like, oh, okay, we're just moving full steam ahead on new stuff.
I love because that just happens in comics. Like that's just a thing that happens. But yeah, I just. I know like the whole Black Suit Spider-Man and Venom and then throwing Carnage in there too is like some of the most popular Spider-Man stuff, and then you're gonna have the people that are overrated and blah blah blah. Yeah, you're always gonna have the people that are gonna try to argue against it. But I'm sorry, like fucking Venom is so badass.
He's
like
so
just
cool.
The imagery of Venom, like what he looks like, what like this monster that's just stomping around, horrifying monster. And then but before that, like Peter going on that arc of being like this pure-hearted hero, just everyman hero with these powers, and then getting the suit, and then he starts changing as a person. And like in this game, as you're playing it, like he's talking normal, right? He'll be talking to MJ normal, but then certain missions where like it's like he gets juiced up and then he starts talking a certain way, and it's like you're slowly like seeing the suit doing what it's supposed to do.
But when you finally get to Venom's actual voice, and it's the dude who plays Candyman, him putting in a just fantastic performance at like full blown Venom, like it's just like.
Imagine.
But yeah, the steps to that, was
you see the symbiote story is quite literally an evolution. Like it's really really cool, man, and oh man. Just the whole third act is just like, masterful. Like, sure, they could have added some stuff to, I guess, elongate it maybe a little, but like it would have just felt like padding at that point. Like it would have felt like, oh, I got to go do more crimes, and I have to
go find more backpacks that are webbed up somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. They really stretched it out perfectly. Where exploring that city, I think I already said this before, but exploring that city feels way more organic this time, where I don't feel required to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I just stumble upon stuff more organically, and I'm like, oh yeah, there's a spider bot right there. Cool.
Go do that real quick.
Yeah. Definitely recommend, by the way, doing the spider bot to completion and getting that ending scene. There's a really cool scene. It's an Easter.
It's just movie wise, we technically still haven't gotten like a high quality Venom.
In my opinion, I agree. Like I know that there are people that love the Venom movies because it leans more towards being a Saturday morning cartoon. But I mean, that's just not what I wanted out of Venom.
Cool. Aesthetically, he looks cool. Like the action,
it kind of looks like
the
ass to
so
me.
bad.
Well, compared to Spider-Man 3, to Spider-Man, like freaking Topher Grace's, that Venom, like get that shit out of it. Like,
I'm gonna choose him over this Tom Hardy. I'm saying it. I don't love it. I hate Spider-Man 3, and I hate Topher Grace Venom, but like. Yeah, you're talking about what's the better of two hells here,
Yeah,
I like when he's like this big monster.
I like him buff too. Yeah, like, I don't like. Yeah, if you want a
like,
sleek Venom, then you introduce Carnage. But if you don't,
sure.
If you want Venom, I want him to be buff and big and talk like a crazy,
like horrifying
person,
yeah, exactly. Like just this monster, this horrifying monster. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fantastic. I think that like it's the best Spider-Man stuff we're getting right now. Like, I like the Tom Holland Spider-Man stuff. No Way Home was awesome. But like, this is Spider-Man. Like this is like that always is going to feel like, well, yeah, that's MCU Spider-Man, you know,
Sure.
like where it's specifically a very type of flavor, just like Ultimate Spider-Man feels very different than regular Spider-Man, you know, like this feels like the Spider-Man that I know and I've grown up with and stuff like that, even though it's nothing like the Saturday morning cartoons or anything like that. It's living in a more familiar space because of how comic booky it is and everything like that. So
and doing such a good job of balancing things too, because again, we have
the theme of the whole game, balance.
Yeah,
you know, they say that word 1,000 times in the game, and you know, like they're trying to learn how to balance their lives with being Spider-Man and being a growing college kid and being you know, a dude who's kind of madly in love with some chick. You know, they're trying to strike this balance in everything, and you know, so when they get tempted with this extra power that comes along and might make everything a little easier, you know, like it feeds so well into the existing themes of the game. So I don't know, man. It's not just a good Spider-Man game. It's a well-told story. It's just a great video game. It's some of the best combat you're going to get around in this type of genre. And I don't know if I've ever existed in an open world that could load so quickly while I was moving through it so quickly.
I know. It's absurd.
It's so black magic how all that's working. Like I don't get it at all. You pop those wings and get in a jet stream and you get across the level in like seconds, you know? Like it's crazy.
If you sit on top of the Empire State Building, the draw distance is nuts.
It's just crazy how much they've got, how much information they've got loading, you know, to run this thing.
But just real quick back to the balance thing, because I've been a fan of Spider-Man for a long time. I originally was more X-Men back when I was younger, and then as I got older, Spider-Man. But Miles Morales is a newer character, like comparatively to Peter Parker. Like Peter Parker's been around since, I mean,
Miles Morales is like 2013, I think.
Yeah, Peter Parker as a character,
barely 10 years old. Yeah.
/ Spider-Man is like what, 75 years? Like it's been in an obscene amount of time. Right. So introducing this new character into the whole mix of everything, and it just blends so well. And I just like, and Miles got his own story too, which, you know, video game wise, these games it really helped because then you learn even more about Miles. But yeah he's fantastic. Like I've cool. Always,
it's really hard to make a secondary character of an existing character, and I can't think of too many other examples where it's worked as well as the Miles to Peter Parker, you know, type of transition. So
exactly. It's
and
just
how much they're willing to adjust in characters that we do know to make room for Miles, like the Tinkerer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember Mr. Negative, Martin Lee, like at all in the comics or the cartoons, because I didn't read that far.
I feel like he is just for the game. I could be wrong.
I thought they made him up for the first game, but I could be wrong too.
Anyway, I love how much he matters to Miles' story, especially. But like Peter's in the first one for sure, but like Miles especially, like he matters big time. Like they find a way to keep even the most educated Spider-Man fans guessing like the entire way. Like it's very refreshing.
Yeah, there were certain reveals that and I won't obviously talk about them, that happen, and I'm just like, oh my god, they snuck that in, you know? You know, so things that even like you're expecting, you know, when they show up, you're still like, wow, that caught me off by surprise, even though I was kind of expecting that, because you know, a lot of these
just
stories
because
come as a package, you know,
because of what you because of what you know going into the story. There's some really cool side quests. Oh man, great payoffs to those. You can tell that there's going to be a DLC coming for sure.
I'm excited for those DLCs.
That could potentially be a great story that a lot of people might know, some might not. I don't know. They haven't said anything about it, so we don't know. We really don't know.
I know that I really like the DLCs in the first game, and I know they're going to be great in this one. You know.
Yeah, so. and if I hope everybody that's on too had played through the entire. I know there's a lot to do in that DLC. Yeah. But that story, like Yuri's story especially, was so good in that whole DLC. So
if you didn't play the DLC, you'd have no idea who this character is. You're like, why is this? Who is this? Yeah. So the fact that it was so important was pretty interesting to me too. Yeah. Because most people don't play DLCs; they just don't.
Yeah, they just go, finish that, done with that.
That's true. Well, especially because it depends on how much time is it. Like I generally don't do that with DLCs, but I want to. I wanted to
and
do.
Dan's MLG, guys, so it's like that's a good example of him. He's a major league gamer who
you know what
doesn't partake in DLC sometimes. So
shows how passionate I am about Spider-Man because I was like, do the Spider-Man DLC. Got to do the Spider-Man. Yeah, but Mr. Negative actually was introduced in the comics in 2007. So
okay.
Right. See, I thought he was
a newer character. Yeah.
So they were deliberately going with. As an introductory villain, they were deliberately going with somebody who was like hasn't been adapted, similar to Kraven. They were going with somebody who hasn't been adapted in the mainstream on like live action stuff.
Yeah.
So
he's
like
been around for a while, but
yeah. So like we knew Doc Ock. Like spoilers on the first game, you haven't played it. So we knew Doc Ock, but like, and we knew all the Sinister Six villains. Like we've seen them before, maybe except for Scorpion. We haven't seen him in a movie. But like the fact that like they put these red herrings in almost, even though we knew in the marketing Venom was going to be in this game, they put these red herring villains in to get to the meat of the actual villain in like the third act of the game. It's really brilliant how they do that. And in this one too, it's like, dude, they even made the MJ missions great. What the hell? Like, it's
because everyone complained about it in the first one.
Yeah, no.
They're like, fine. How about we make her Ellie in Last of Us 2? How about that?
I think the first time you use her, like, I hated that one. I was like, oh, they're still doing this. And then, so when it came back to do it again later, I'm like, oh, here we go again. But then it was really good. You know, not really good, but it was like, it serviced the plot. You know what I mean? Like, it serviced the plot, and like, it created something that was necessary for the story.
Her last two were like, this could be its own game. Good.
Yeah,
it was just crazy how good it was.
Yeah.
But I think there's like 4 times. The first one is kind of like, you discover that she doesn't die immediately if she's seen. So that's like a huge plus. Like that's immediately I'm like, this is tolerable. And she feels like she can defend herself a little better.
Well, she says off screen that Sable's been training.
Sable's been training.
Which she did go to their country of Slovakia, whatever it's called.
Sablevania.
Sableland.
That's canon. It's all canon.
Yeah, they that's where they went when Miles was in charge, and he almost blew up Harlem. So
yep.
Spoilers on that game too, I guess. They were in Sablevania. Anyway, I was just surprised at how well those missions played. And I did like the ones that were flashback missions and stuff that you really didn't do a lot in.
Yeah.
Spider-wise. But I just like them as a deeper dive into those characters and their relationships to each other. Like they felt nice. They felt like a warm hug.
It was like a warm hug.
The Jameson one was hilarious. When we were getting the job with Jameson.
Yeah, where Peter starts yelling. He's like, yeah, I am going to be a New Yorker. He's like, get out of my way.
Yeah.
Like, I forget what he says specifically, but he just starts yelling at everybody. It's like, oh, all right, Peter. All right.
Yeah.
What you doing?
He even nearly says, I'm going to put some dirt in your eye. I'm
going
to punch some dirt in your face. Maybe even your eye. Oh my God, I see what they did there. It's going to be a tough guy. Really yeah. I think there's another mission too that's like a non-Spider-Man character. I'm trying to remember what it's not there's one that's really major. I'm not going to talk about that one. There's another one that's kind of like a flashback of sorts. No, I must be making stuff up and blurring the lines in my head. But anyway, the game is fantastic, and it's certainly up there. I don't think it's my game of the year, which is surprising. Most anticipated game of the year, not my game of the year, which is surprising, but it's up there for me. Dan is going to like my game of the year, and that's already given away the secret. Yeah, it's Zelda, obviously.
Yeah, Zelda. Yeah.
Zelda. We all know how much I love Zelda.
Look at all that Zelda merch he's got back there. So that's obviously what it is.
Zelda. That's a Zelda coat.
Yeah.
Some anime indie game or something.
Yeah.
It's
still Final Fantasy for me, but it may change.
It's Honkai Rail.
Honkai, Star Rail.
I can't wait to hopefully do a spoiler chat at some point, but I don't know when we'll get there. And we may just end up doing it at the Game of the Year debates part to be like, to when we talk about best story, to be like spoilers on all the games that have come out this year. But because we're going to have to talk about some of those details big time. There's some major moments that are like some of the best in all of game. Even an early mission with involving Miles and Black Cat was like one of the best moments in gaming this year. Like cool. To me, like just how cool that
I was surprised by it. I was like, oh, we're going to that place? Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like,
that's cool.
Excuse me? Is that where I think it is? Excuse me?
Yeah.
Hello? Yeah, it was great. So moving on to other quick hits that we have. Kyle, what do you have? Things.
I'm not loading up notes right now or anything. Hold on. Game-wise, not much. Those are just the two. I've been kind of plucking away at Mario Wonder, which is just very jolly.
Nice.
And
yes,
cranking the tunes on that one. What a great soundtrack that game has.
I forgot to mention that last week. That was like, even just like in the 4 levels that I played, I still haven't gone back and played the game yet. But even in those 4 levels, I was just like, oh, so the music is the best of the year, right? Like,
yeah,
this is just crazy.
I'm running into levels that aren't just get to the end type levels. I'm like, wow, they're really figuring out ways to just like, I don't know.
That's wild. I didn't expect that.
Stuff like that.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm very pleased with how this is turning out. So yeah, I'm picking that up from time to time, trying to chip away at that. And in terms of other little shows I was watching, Jeff, I think maybe you started watching this one too, but I just got into Scavenger's Reign on HBO.
Oh my god, dude!
Why was nobody talking about this show? I look back; they released a trailer for this show like a year and 8 months ago, and like no one on Earth was talking about this show. And let me just say that this is one of the most unique shows I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
like everything is bizarre, like the way that because the elevator pitch.
This one, okay.
The elevator pitch, Dan, is if people are moving and kind of like in space, and like one of the ships like kind of fall off track, get damaged, and everyone like has to like shoot down to this planet. No one's coming for them. You know, they even mentioned in the very first episode that's too expensive to go back. It's
literally the first scene where 2 people that work for the company that the stranded scavengers work for are like, oh man, we can't go for them. I hope they're quick on their feet, man. It's gonna be tough out there.
Yeah, you know? So there's like flash forward like 6 to 8 months, something like that. These are all kind of smart people, so they're learning how to use like the organic life on this planet as technology, and the way that they just implement the animals, how not only how they look, but how they react to the environment. Like there's these like little bird things that will just like land on something and then immediately blend in with it, and then like fly off and like not be blended with it anymore. Just weird stuff. We're going to a place that we need to breathe. We're gonna put this animal up to my face with like tentacles that go into my nose, and it's gonna feed me the oxygen I need to walk through this area.
I don't like that.
Weird. Oh, and there's this, and hopefully this is not divulging too much, but like you see someone fall victim to like a fungus type thing, and it's horrifying. Like what happens is it's absolutely it's taking over their body and it's spreading through their.
It's like the cordyceps thing, but like on steroids.
Yeah, but like
because it can afford to. It's animation, so like it's obviously it's like more colorful.
It's very colorful and it's kind of beautiful and how gross it is. Like it's just. It's such a unique and weird show, and basically it's about these people who are trying to get off this planet and get home, but they're only left with what was in their escape pods to like survive.
They definitely seem more focused like on minute to minute, like how do I survive on this planet? Yeah, but there is one character that still has electronics access, and she's the one that's constantly radioing, and she has that robot with her Levi. Yeah, I think that's voiced by maybe Funke.
That's cool.
Aaliyah Shawkat.
She's great. Yeah.
She voices another character too. She voices the redhead's estranged wife or girlfriend or whatever.
The one who's hallucinating. Like
That by the way,
there's like an animal on planet that can take your memories and then become the object of something in your memory.
That is literally the apex predator of the planet. That to me, that's what that is. Like that thing, because it's like it has telekinesis. It can read your mind, cause you to hallucinate. Damn near invulnerable. Like there's some things that happen to it that I'm like, oh, so we can just recover. Cool. Yeah. And it gets, the more that it feeds, the bigger it gets. So like and I love that they don't give these things names. I'm just like, oh, this creature, this thing.
No, yeah. There's no like, and it's the show. Like it's weird because it moves at a quick pace, but it also stays on stuff a while too.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to explain it, but like its pacing is very alien and fitting of like this weird alien show, So
It's definitely one of the best shows so
um,
far, and like it's only halfway through the season so far, and it's airing new episodes every week. But even at the halfway point, it felt like a finale, like a season finale type thing. It felt like a big cliffhanger. Like it felt like a big deal. Like there was a loss in the episode, and like then the final shot of it is like, what? Excuse me? So like we have 6 more episodes of this? Holy shit. Yeah. It's crazy. It's much like Loki this season where it's like it ends episode 4 on this gigantic cliffhanger, and I'm like,
it's crazy.
We have 2 more episodes? Are you
right. It's crazy. Yeah.
It has a really cool style to it. It kind of almost reminds me of something on like Adult Swim. Like wasn't there those segments where like they'd show some creepy ass art sometimes, like some kind of like
a
weird like
thing. Yeah. And you're like, what the hell is this? Yeah.
And
it's very of that generation. Like people who grew up on that stuff are now making things. So.
And if you look up the voice cast, you'll recognize at least the faces of the people that are voicing. I recognize them from like playing bit parts and stuff in shows and stuff like that. It's just
couldn't
really cool,
recommend this one more. This is just the hardest of recommends. Yeah,
I saw it immediately on my Max thing, and I was like, oh, that looks cool. Q, like,
you'll love this. We'll let you know when it wraps up, so you can go back through it because you're gonna love the ride all the way through. I just plowed through it.
Like I started 20 to 30 minute episodes. They're short, you know.
Yeah.
So.
I imagine serious drug use inspiring the visuals and the ideas in all the
I don't
animals.
imagine, I know it was serious drug use that created the visuals of the show.
It's insane. I'm just like, how can a sober brain think of this? Oh, they can't. Okay.
No, not possible.
Is that all your quick hits?
That's all my quick hits, yeah.
I'll go through. I forgot to mention that I forgot to mention that Rick and Morty came back, and I liked what they've been doing so far. It's almost like I don't see a difference. Sometimes I catch one, but it's only because I know. Like if I weren't looking for it, I wouldn't know that the voices were different people. But it's funny. It's still hilarious. So does it matter that Borland is gone? I don't think it matters. Glad you mentioned Scavenger's Reign. That was up there because you recommended it, Kyle. So thank you for that. I saw your post and I was like, I gotta watch this. This looks awesome.
It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got mad that no one was talking about it. I was like, we need to. This is why we don't get good TV because no one watches anything. And even I shared that thing and like 2 people like that post. No one commented. I'm like, this is how shows die. Guys.
This is and that's why I tagged Gaston too
because we have classless
like the algorithm doesn't even want to spread this
exactly.
show. You know, like it's like
it
nothing.
catches that it's not popular, so it doesn't spread it.
Yeah,
that's why I tagged Gaston because not only that I know that he loves animated shows, but like it's so ambitious and stylistic that I was like, Gaston would love this. Like it's high concept.
I don't know why I didn't tag him to begin with. Yeah.
How dare you?
Sorry, buddy.
Another animated show.
Stuff, right?
Another animated show that I did finish. Is Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon remix. I ended up caring about the characters by episode like 5 and 6. First it's just like silly.
That's
and whatever, it's like silly, and then the story takes a turn in episode 5. There's only 6 episodes. The story takes a turn by episode 5, and then like by 6 I'm like, what happens? And then it ends on a cliffhanger, and I'm like, son of a bitch, they're not going to get renewed. This show does not have the same buzz as the Castlevania shows, so it's just going to end there, and I'm going to die not knowing what happens next. But anyway, it is an enjoyable ride. It's just not, obviously it's not on like Castlevania's level. Like if it were, people would be talking about it more. But it is more tongue-in-cheek and funny.
I don't see anybody talking about the show. You're
right.
Yeah,
exactly. I also watching, just for the sake of like padding, I guess, my time is and also I subscribe to a lower tier of Netflix, so I don't get 4K anymore in a few days. I've been going through the Our Planet docuseries where it's just, I think it's the Attenborough, whichever Attenborough is still alive. Is it Richard? Whichever.
Yeah,
but the guy who does the voiceovers for nature docuseries and documentaries and stuff. It's basically that, but I'm still watching, since I still have the 4K tier, and it's getting way too expensive now. I'm watching it on my 4K TV, and it looks just amazing. And the new season is all about migration and how certain species are like migrating with the climate changing and stuff like that. I mean, I wish there were more to talk about with that, but it's what you expect out of a nature.
I'm always a sucker for that stuff. If you want Attenborough to talk at me about nature for 10 hours about 10 different things, I'm in.
I love when he's covering, and I'm only 2 episodes in. It's a 4-episode season. Both episodes did have a part with like a lion or some type of predator like it in the grass trying to sneak up on it's Prey, and every time he does a voiceover for that, it's like he's watching it for the first time, and he's like,
you know what's funny is I've seen something like that 1,000 times, and I'm never gonna get tired of it.
I know.
Yeah,
Same
I
here.
love that. Yeah,
and he's like, oh, not this time. Oh, maybe it's not a bug. Maybe it's a lion.
that's why he's the GOAT, dude. That's why they use him for everything. He's the best.
He's
Best
so
of the
great.
biz.
And also, I question every time. These can't just be drone shots unless they're like the most expensive drones on the planet and they're super far away and the lenses are just amazing. I don't know how they're filming all this stuff for real. Like, how are they right next to a polar bear, one of the most dangerous predators to humans on the planet?
It has to be.
Like, how are they filming these freaking things on a
they
hunt?
are getting stuff from really far away, and they're
Like
zooming
helicopters,
in, and then they're adding in audio after. If I had to take a guess,
so wild to me. Like, how are they just not staring at the cameras the whole time? Like, can you go away while I hunt this seal for me?
Well,
like, I mean,
what is it? Parabolic mics can pick up audio from pretty far, so
that's true too. Maybe they are picking up the live and then splicing it together. Yeah.
But I just like the camera zoom just must be so far along that they can just stay at a distance.
It's got to be.
Yeah.
They're using like like whatever they use to like look at other planets, but like,
oh yeah,
down
it's
here,
like NASA technology basically.
Yeah.
The only other thing I'm playing right now, for some reason, Forza Motorsport got me in a mood. I tried to go back to it after Spider-Man 2, and I was like, oh, these are like a lot of the same tracks that I just raced. So I'm like taking a break till those tracks feel
Welcome to the sim
me.
racer life, Jeff.
Yeah, I want those tracks to feel fresh.
There's only so many real tracks on Earth that they don't make up very
20
many
total in the game, which is like not a lot, I guess. But
well,
whatever.
it's a service game too, so they're gonna like slowly add more tracks, over years. So,
but I did switch over to actually Horizon because I was like, I am in the mood for a racer, but I just want something prettier to look at, and I want to drift because you don't drift in the sim racers. So I switched over to Horizon, and I've actually been playing the DLC that released this year, the Rally Adventure, which is a new section of the map.
But that's fun.
It's such a blast. Oh my god! And the cool part about
races in those games.
It's mostly off-road, but there's a variety of ways you can play it. There's they break down the DLC in teams, so there's 3 teams you pick from once you get past the introductory stuff, and all 3 teams have different focuses on how they race. One is a mixture of rally and racing, off-road and racing, and actual like legit racing. One is like night races, and the other one's just off-road the entire time, like rally racing. So like it's a breeze to get through all those. Like the tracks are like 3 minutes, and you finish them if you do it straightforward rally race. If you do laps, obviously it's like maybe a little longer, and you do a proper race. But yeah, the collectathon feeling is back. Like I want to do all the speed traps, I want to do all the danger zones, and like I want to do all the boards and crates that I got to smash. And I love leveling. I'm like level 170 something now, 180. And just knowing that I did that the hard way and not through some hack. Like my brother got to like level 130, whatever it is, 138 times 2. Whenever it's like, whenever you get past 200, you starts you over again, but it adds like an exponential next to your number. So he's like, he cheated to get there. Like he just had like a rubber band around his controller and just cheated. And did like an auto drive, because auto drive is a feature in the game, for people that want it super easy. So I didn't do that. I did it the hard way. I'm on 180, and I feel really good about it. And I feel really good about having the top score because nobody else is playing this DLC.
I'm about to download it right now and beat all your scores.
Damn it! Damn it! It's
I'm
so
too busy.
fun,
I have like
dude.
17 games to play.
Yeah, I know.
It's a good time of the year to go to something, like that.
It's a perfect one to space in between my Alan Wake play sessions, because I don't it's not like Spider-Man 2 where I binge play it and I'm like, what happens next? And like it's exciting. Like Alan Wake 2 is a vibe. Like I have to be.
It was the same thing with Control for me, where it's like I could play it like maximum 3 to 4 hour like sessions.
Yeah.
And like those are the heavy sessions for me. Those are my normal 8 to 10 hour sessions on any other game that I'm enjoying. Because like they just drain you. At least me. I'm just like, okay,
especially
I need to recharge my batteries.
Alan Wake 2 is really stressful, especially when there's enemies and they just kind of come up on you out of nowhere, and you have to just kind of be quick.
You're looking and just staring at your ammo reserves going down. You're like, I don't
have any battery flashlights anymore. I guess I'll just run. Great, thanks game. So it's perfect for that. It's like a perfect palate cleanser type situation. But that's all I got. What do you got? Quick hits.
So Spidey, obviously. That's the main thing that I'm focusing on. My wife and I had started that Miniko's Night Market on the Switch. What was it, like a couple of weeks ago? But they still haven't friggin' like patched the loading stuff. So it's like it just takes too long for a game like that. Like that's like a nice kind of chill, leisurely thing. Like you don't want to just sit there like waiting for things to load. And also there are certain crafting related things that also, like when you craft something, then it kind of like is frozen for a few like I don't know, like what feels like longer than it actually probably is, but like it accumulates over time. So like even if it's like 15-20 seconds, it still feels like a necessary waste of time. But it just came out on Game Pass, and then also on the was it PS4 or whatever, and it's not really having that issue. So we essentially started over.
Damn.
Oh no. Okay.
But we didn't get like super far into it, and like we're basically just plowing through the dialogue.
I was gonna say you're probably getting through it quicker this time.
Yeah, we're plowing through the dialogue because we already know what the story is up to the point where we left off. So like we're basically already almost there. It's been like a couple days.
Maybe you're even doing things better, so you're in a better spot than you were.
Exactly. We're making more craft money. Whatever, we're making more monies. and cat stuff. There's lots of cat stuff. It's a very cute game. Aesthetically, the art style of it is very, very cute. Did that
come to Game Pass?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's on Game Pass.
Oh, okay.
It's a very cute game. So,
how much like Animal Crossing is it?
I mean, it has sim elements, but I wouldn't lean more like it's like Animal Crossing. It's more just like there's fishing in it, and then like basically the main thing is like you do crafting. So like you get these workbenches, so you make like flower related crafts, and then like paper and like wood and various things. So you kind of get more tables and do more crafts, and then you sell them at the night market. So you have a booth at the night market that basically is like not as popular as it used to be. So like the area where the night market happens looks all dingy and run down, but like as you sell more stuff, it actually levels up, and then like they start cleaning up that area and like adding stuff to it, and more booths start opening up. So like then more people are going to start showing up, and then you'll make more money by selling to all the new people that are showing up to the night market. So that's kind of like a fun element, because that gives purpose for you going around and collecting the things and making the crafts. So
cool.
Yeah, and it's just very cute. It's very cute. It's got cats in it.
It's cat.
You could do cat races. You ride on a cat, and then there's other people riding on cats. But then there's a cat riding on a cat while you're riding on the cats. So
can't do a cat on a cat.
I think
catception.
we said cat so much now it doesn't mean anything in my brain anymore.
It's a catception, Kyle.
Cats.
Cats.
It's just the noise that we're making now. Yeah.
But yeah, it's very cute.
That's cool. No, that actually kind of sounds interesting to me. I actually like those types of games that it's just like that have natural growth.
It's just chill
areas and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just chill. And then I played a little more Mario finally, because I hadn't really done that since I was doing Spider-Man. Dude, that game is just that game is so whimsical. That game is so whimsical, Kyle. And like it feels like what Mario Odyssey was for 3D Mario, but this is to 2D Mario. Like it's like they didn't like reinvent the wheel or anything, but they gave you this hat, and then you did all this wacky cool shit that's like, oh, this is new for Mario. Yeah. And it's like with this, it's like, yeah, they're not reinventing the wheel, but there's like enough newness there and quirkiness that like makes it feel fresh, even though it also feels familiar. So
a new spin on a
sounds like Spider-Man 2
genre,
Yes. And it's just really enjoyable. So and I'm doing that whole thing where I'm going back to the previous levels, because I noticed like, oh, I didn't get all the way to the top of the flagpole. I didn't get the wonderful that you get, the little, it says
does
wonderful.
It track that?
Yeah. You'll see like when you check each level, like when you pull up the menu to like just look at the levels and see what you're missing, it shows etched out the flag. And I was like, son of a bitch. So I went back and like, and I did the
no, I can't have another thing drag me back to those levels again. God.
So I went back and ran all the way back to because I mean, when you just like speed run the level, it's not that bad. But basically, I went back and made sure that
that's the other thing is like if I there are some levels where I'm just like, I can't do this, and there's enough of the progression tokens that you need that you can always keep going, which I do like about the game, because I am not going to be a 100%er on everything on this game, and the fact that the game doesn't like stop me from progressing from not being that way is nice to me. That's
definitely
nice feature.
Yeah.
But I also have completionist like OCD.
Same, yeah.
So
no, I will
like
I will double down on a level sometimes where I'm like, I was right there, man. You know, I almost got that thing.
Have you made it to the fluffy puffy mountains or whatever it's called, Kyle? Or?
I think I'm right before, like I'm about to get there. Yeah.
Okay, because there's a 4-star level in there. That's a lot of like jumping the wall jumping thing. So that one was actually really fun because like, oh, all right, this is actually like trying to drag something out of me of like, you know, the precision of the jumping and all of that. So that was really cool.
I hear the super secret special level at the very end for getting like everything. It's like this, you know, you beat the game, but like this is like the true ending, if you want to call it that. Yep. It's like sucking 100 lives out of people, man. Like it's so hard. Like,
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah. Like it's fun to always go like, yeah, this is like for kids or whatever. The difficulty's there when it rears its head,
for kids.
You know?
But it's like the Mario World, right? Because there's the Star Road levels, right, where you go up to that like that star thing, but then there's like the middle pillar that shoots you up, and then you do those bonus levels that are just wacky compared to the rest of the game. So that's like what that.
And I would say mechanically, this probably feels most like Worlds to me, like in terms of like its floatiness and just the way the controls feel and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
It kind of feels like a spiritual successor to Worlds.
Yeah. I
like the game a lot. I'm surprised by how much I like it, to be honest. So.
Yes, it's very enjoyable. Very enjoyable. I don't think I'm watching anything, so I think I'm good.
Why do you hate enjoying watching things, Dan? Jeez. So we're gonna speed run through headlines in 3, 2, 1. Xbox partner preview happened. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth looks really good. The Dondoko Island customizations look really cool. Isn't that funny? Animal Crossing, kind of, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a wild. They're adding a really crazy Animal Crossing thing to Yakuza, and I don't know why.
Okay. Anyway. I was like, what?
I'm trying to talk fast to you. So.
Oh, okay. Icaro Will Not Die was also shown as an action game from the Power Wash Simulator dev, and it looks kind of like kinetic and fun in a way that Hi-Fi Rush is. Anyway, moving on. There was other stuff shown. Blah 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 blah. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater had its Unreal Engine 5 showcase. It was like 90 seconds. So
the sharp looking game.
Yeah, it looks real sharp.
Yeah. The mud on him. Fuck.
Good mud. Good mud.
Yeah, good mud graphics. Yeah.
The best mud.
Yeah.
Beautiful mud. Muddy mud.
We're mad though because Kojima's not doing the trailer. Yeah. He's not there.
It's not an art house movie.
I was into Still Wakes the Deep. It's a new game from the Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and Little Orpheus developer, and that's more of like a first person, but this is like a horror game for them, which is rare for them. But it's just a first person walking simulator type of thing, which I'm into those. If it's not just jump scare after jump scare, then I'm into them. But if it's just like that's all it is, then I step away. But anyway, Ark, the Ark with Vin Diesel in it, Ark Survival Ascended. Is this the one?
Yeah.
Had a little bit of a gameplay reveal.
The second one.
Yeah, isn't that what they're calling the second one? Ark Survival.
I thought it was Ark 2. Isn't it Ark 2?
Good question.
They should call it they should call it Ark Diesel.
Ark Diesel.
Family Ascended.
Family.
Actually, this is a remake of Survival Evolved.
Oh my God! Stop it! Shut up.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Wow.
What does that mean?
What is that?
Ark Survival Ascended is a remake of the first game. That's a crazy waste of resources.
Whatever, I don't care.
And they're even putting it in early access. That's adorable.
Oh my God.
Released this week actually. This is one of the games that I skipped over when
what is happening?
I looked over this.
If they made everybody re-download a client for a game that everyone was already playing, I'd be so upset. But
yeah,
I can't get into this. I'm sorry.
I mean, the gameplay looked all right, but like these games are just not for me, in my opinion. Oops. There was other stuff shown. Nothing really worth talking about, in my opinion. There were some leadership shakeups at Xbox. We had the corporate VP. The corporate Veep at Xbox, Sarah Bond, is now the president of Xbox, while Matt Booty, the head of Xbox Game Studios, is now the president of overall game content and studios, meaning ZeniMax and Bethesda now report to him. And I think this is in the wake of somebody leaving, isn't it? I can't remember who left, but I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago.
Pete Hines, right?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. The guy that everybody was like, "Oh no, he's leaving." Yeah, that guy.
Oh, no.
Anyway, it's the type of news we forget about in a week, basically.
Sure.
In Nintendo news, Super Mario Brothers, almost said Odyssey. Wonder is the fastest-selling Mario game ever in Europe, and fastest-selling Mario Switch title in Japan. Switch is an important differentiator, but apparently it sold more than 8 times as many copies of Spider-Man 2 in Japan. So Japan is confirmed a racist.
Sure.
Yes. That Europe record, by the way, is a record based on 3 days of sales. That's pretty wild.
I saw something where it was comparing against the Sonic Superstars sales. It was like 4,000 compared to like 600,000. I was like, oof.
Yeah, it's Sonic, it's Sega versus Nintendo in the 90s all over again.
Yeah. And that's the only Nintendo headline I had. It's kind of light there, and Xbox too technically, but Sony. So people are talking about this optional disk drive that comes with the PS5 Slim and how it requires an internet connection to pair with your console right after you install it.
So like a driver that you would get for any PC?
Yeah, for literally for any other new piece of hardware you introduce to your computer.
So it works like all technology works.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
the
much.
news.
People
are mad about this.
When somebody shared this in the group, I gave it a laugh react because it was a pony that shared it. All respect to whoever shared it, if you're listening, I guess, whatever. But you know you're a pony. So I laughed at it just because it's funny. Whatever. It's funny that people
because
are gonna get mad
they're twisting it as DRM, Kyle. They're twisting it as DRM.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
So
where I don't. I agree with what I think it was. I don't remember who it was that said it was like this is literally just like any other hardware install. Like
it is like that. That's how all technology works.
It's like, oh hey,
so just get over it.
Guess what? When I bought my new 4K Blu-ray player that had nothing to do with any system that I owned, you had to plug it in so it could get a driver update.
Yes, yeah, it does. And
every
the ones
receiver that you set up has driver. You know,
and the ones that Kyle and I use, like we have different models of Blu-ray players, but it's still Sony. So like you update it once when you get it, and then they just stop updating it. So so you need it for that one
Your
time.
Your TV that you turn on gets updates. You know, I don't know. I can't.
It's crazy.
I can't all this. Yeah.
I liked this headline a lot, so I had to include it. The Spider-Man 2 creative director, can't remember his name, confirms that their Wolverine game, the Insomniac Wolverine game, is going to exist in the same universe. Cool. It's so cool that Insomniac has carved their own Marvel universe out. Like you can tell through all the Easter eggs that they might want to do other characters as well. Like especially based on that one mission we talked about, and then there's an Easter egg on top of a building in Spider-Man 2. Like they clearly want to do other stuff.
There's also rumblings that like the Wolverine game might take place in Madripoor or something like that. So it's like that's like a. I
don't think I'm familiar. What is that?
Madripoor is the place that they went to in Falcon and Winter Soldier. That like
thank you.
It is a very famous place in like Marvel comics where it's just like that's the black market city. That's the night city, you know.
Okay, cool.
The Globetrotter.
And I think the rumor has been about this game that it would be like kind of like God of War open areas. At least that was the rumor.
I do remember hearing that. Yeah, I do remember hearing that.
But obviously we haven't seen anything about it, and another rumor was it's a game for next year, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be open world. Like it's Wolverine.
Yeah, no, I heard it's going to be more God of War.
You're going to swing around like Spider-Man.
You're going to be going to a lot of different places that are open-ish, but like open world is probably not the right word. Yeah.
And you're probably going to have to be incognito in a lot of them because, you know, he presents as a normal person. Like, it's not every building you walk into that everybody's going to be like, oh, this guy's a mutant. He's got claws.
Hey, bub.
So, yeah.
Hey, bub.
I hope if you can't throw a cigar into somebody's face in this game, I'm out.
Oh man, I'm so out. I just want to be able to like decapitate a couple people. Is that too much to ask? I mean,
no, it's not.
But
I
want that too.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No, it needs to happen. But it needs to happen.
There's also been a leadership shakeup at not leadership. Leadership's a strong word, but she was a longtime producer for PlayStation. Connie Booth just left Sony.
Gotta be honest, I don't actually know who that is.
She's been a producer for. I actually had to put her credits in here because I wasn't familiar either. But she's been a producer since the original Crash. She was a senior producer in that game. So she's been involved in Spyro, Siphon Filter. Why did I say that word? Ratchet and Clank, SOCOM, Uncharted, Jack and Daxter, Infamous, Ghost of Tsushima, like Last of Us. Yeah. So like she's been involved in the industry for a long. She's more. It sounds to me like she's a background player that maybe gets underappreciated. Maybe that's why she's leaving. So I don't know.
Sure.
But there were a lot of people, at least in the industry, that were like, "Oh no!" Like I think Jaffe tweeted and was like, "This is so sad."
She might just be retiring too, because a lot of games that you were talking about are
old.
like 20 to 30 years old.
Yeah, it's old as shit.
Yeah.
In delay news, Kyle's ears perked up. Ubisoft has delayed a large game to next fiscal year, and the rumor is that it is Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I think we all kind of saw that coming, didn't we?
Wait, so that game that looks really ambitious is not going to come out on time?
Sure. It's not going to come out before March 2024.
But I just really know how to read between the lines.
Yeah, exactly. I think we all kind of agreed like before March 2024 is a little stupid. Like you're not going to hit that. The game looks so busy.
Like it might come out next year still, but like it would be late, like November.
Yeah, that's what I'm anticipating.
Let that game cook. Let it cook.
Yeah, let that game cook, especially if it's an Ubisoft game.
Yeah.
Please let it cook.
By the way, speaking of delays, Skull and Bones got delayed again.
I'm so done talking about that game.
Hold on. Is this why Tim actually isn't on the podcast? He's just sad.
I think that's it. He was just like, I can't talk about this game anymore. I am so depressed.
To make him feel better, though, I heard they did put in a power wash feature into that game.
So good.
Power wash your post.
Game of the year.
Sure.
That's what they're doing. They're adding in a power wash side quest or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's only been delayed to like, they still say it's going to release this fiscal year. I think a couple companies had their fiscal quarterly, whatever, annual call or whatever, projection call. And they still say maybe January to March of 2024. So they're still saying before the end of their fiscal year. Okay. I don't know about that. I don't know about
sweetie.
that.
Okay, sweetie.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Another company that had their quarter, whatever you want to call it, financial call, was Capcom, and they said that they do have another major unannounced title planned for release before the end of their fiscal year, which is also in March of 2024.
Dude.
So
if it's Onimusha, Devil May Cry, like what are we talking about?
Yeah, I know, right?
Do it to me.
Yeah, what are we talking about here? Why would they say major unannounced title? That is so.
Yeah, they said that they said that to investors, so it's not like they're saying it to people that are like peons like us, like
and then the major game's just a remake. We're making an open world Onimusha game. I'd be like, whoa.
Kyle, don't do this. Kyle, don't do this to me. Although my head went to, because to be honest, and obviously the whole Kenji and Inafune thing was messy, kind of much like the Kojima thing. Mega Man is like, to me, always been a face for years and years of Capcom.
You have to bring Mega Man back at some point. It has to happen.
Mega Man needs to come back. Like it's just
it makes no sense. It's such a huge IP. There used to be freaking Saturday morning cartoons about Mega Man.
Yeah,
bring it back, guys. That. Like it makes no sense to me.
Like, you can make such a cool game with Mega Man.
Remember when we almost got the new 3D one, like the third Mega Man adventure, like what was
Legends,
that adventure,
Legends 3,
it was so close. It was getting made, guys, and it got canceled. Man.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, it could be Resident Evil or Monster Hunter too, but it might be too soon. Resident Evil is doing its DLC, or just
Resident Evil does seem too soon. Monster Hunter seems appropriate because it's really been since World since we got a new big monster. I know like the other one came out recently, the one that was on Switch but then came to PC.
Yes.
Like that World 2 is happening. That was like the best selling. Sure. It literally put Capcom back on the map. So it's like we'll get that at some point.
In the projection, at least on the VGC article that I read, was maybe at the Game Awards we'll see what it actually is, because it's clearly not. We know about Dragon's Dogma 2. Like, I mean, it's clearly not that. It's
right.
There are things
it's
that
obviously, it's not. And I hope this goes over both of your heads, but it's obviously Chaos Legion 2. Yes, we're bringing back an old PS2 game that no one played, and we're gonna make a sequel to it because Kyle loved it. That's what's happening.
Actually, this just in, it's Exoprimal 2. They're already doing another one.
Shit.
God damn. And they're gonna put Samanosuke in it, and I'm gonna be like, you motherfuckers, you're not giving me another Onimusha. You're not giving me another Onimusha.
Yep.
I got two last things here. Star Wars Dark Forces remaster is coming February 28th with 4K visuals and updated controls. I missed this window of PC Star Wars games, so I don't know if
that's Star Wars Doom. You're gonna love it.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Doom. And with updated, if it's updated like Quake 2 was, then I'm probably gonna love it. You know,
maybe I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the
because I think they updated the same thing. They did the same exact thing. Like controls are updated, 4K fidelity, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Dark Forces
okay,
is also the first game in the Kyle Katarn series. So.
Oh, rad. Okay.
So Jedi Academy, yeah. Jedi Outcast. Like that. Those are all from this line of games or stories. Yeah.
Well, that's a great day to be a nerd then on that day. Last bit of information. Great day to be named
Kyle.
Yeah, it's true. That too. The last bit of news is actually just a very interesting thing that happened. The suit from the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson was briefly added to Arkham Knight on Epic Games Store, and people have gameplay footage of them playing.
And then they took it off.
Why did they do that?
And they took it away?
Yeah, then they removed it.
I don't get that at all. Yeah,
I don't.
That's a weird one.
I'm like, what are you trying to say here? Is it?
Are you sure, Jeff? Can you swear to me that they put it on there?
Oh, if you want to talk like Robert Pattinson Batman, you got to be like.
Something in the bridge.
Something in the way. Yeah, you like cats. You like cats.
Yeah, I just prefer Christian Bale saying "swear to me." It's just
swear to me. Yeah,
he's just
so. What about the rabbits and the bears? Yeah, I like Christian Bale.
Yeah.
I highly recommend. We mentioned Pete Holmes earlier. Pete Holmes is doing new videos, and he's dropping them weekly of him playing Batman, firing Justice League members.
Jeez.
So it's the X-Men. It's the X-Men format, but Batman. Okay, so I'm definitely
he actually had Thomas Middleditch play Robert Pattinson Batman, and it was so funny. I can't even quote them because it was just rapid fire crap, funny, just back to back.
I'm gonna pull this up right now.
You have a lasso of truth. That's all you got.
It's just so good, man. Yeah, and of course Superman's in there. The Flash is in there. The Joker's in there. I'm trying to remember who played Joker. I think it was Ben, the guy who does improv. He does the Jason Bateman impression. What's his name?
No idea.
I don't know.
No, it's not Ben. It's God. I can't remember his name, but Kyle, I know you know his name because we talked about it before. I just can't remember his name right now.
Jason Bateman impression.
Yeah, he does a really good Jason Bateman impression. He does a lot of improv, and he's been on other YouTube channels as well. But anyway, that's all we got for this week, unless anybody else has anything they want to say. Other than something like poopy butthole or wieners or flaccid everywhere.
Dongs and nards.
All right. It's good enough.
Okay.
Okay.